All right, welcome to Optional Dialogue, episode 92. Once again, I'm your host, Sebastian, and I'm joined by Dory, Mitch, and James. And today we're going to talk about our top 10 list of 2023. It's the list we hype up all year long, and it's our favorite video to do.
Definitely.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to go in order of the boxes. So I'm going to have Dory say her number 10 first. So everybody's going to say their 10, and we're going to count down all the way to 1, and then we'll say our game of the year. But if anyone has overlap, then they're going to say where it's placed on their list, which there's probably going to be a lot of overlap on this list. All right, so let's start with Dory. What is your 10th game of 2023?
All right, so my number 10 is probably a game that I don't think anyone else has. It's Ghost Trick Phantom Detective. This is one of the few games I played on Nintendo Switch this year. I love it to death. It's a remake / remaster of a classic kind of whodunit detective puzzle game. Not usually into puzzle games, but I find this one very accessible. There's usually good checkpoints. There's usually not a lot of time wasting. Like, they have a good way to have the dialogue so that it's cut so that, usually it's at the beginning of the scene, or like, there's just enough dialogue that you know what's going on, but not so much that you're like, oh my god, like press A, get to the point. And when you're starting a puzzle over, really funny, really well written. The characters are really excellent. Honestly, this made me like want to name like an one of my, well, I don't want to give any spoilers, but like the game was so good that I thought about, like, if I got a pet at some point, to name one of the characters after them, because it's just so good. It's really well written. Like I said, it's very funny. I don't think the writing has aged badly at all. Basically what happens is that you're playing you're playing yourself, and thank you. Sorry. You're playing various characters, mostly yourself, after you were murdered. So you die in like the first 5 seconds. So it's like Dark Souls. You are basically on the hunt to figure out who killed you and why, and what kind of goes from a simple murder investigation, of course, as it always does in these kind of games, spirals into this big conspiracy with lots of different players and a colorful cast. I mean, every character is written with such care. If I had any small criticisms of this, I do think it's a little long, and I do think there are times where it gets a little frustrating during the puzzles. I think I had to look up a couple of late game puzzles to figure out how they work. I'm not the most puzzly forward person. But yeah, I mean, this is a really great game. I want to be clear, by the way, all the games on my list are at least out of 5, like a 4.25 or something like that. So they're at least like really great. This year has been, I mean, we're going to talk about it, I'm sure, throughout the video, but this year has been absolutely bonkers. So this is a really great game. I recommend it a lot. It's probably on sale by now because it's not a first party game for Nintendo, but I would get it on the Switch. I think it's a really fun portable game. And like I said, very funny, very well written. Some checkpointing issues, some length issues, but other than that, really great game. Very much worth your time. Ghost Trick Phantom Detective. Get it?
I was just trying to search it up then, and I had it backwards. I had it as
Phantom Trick Ghost Detective or whatever.
Yeah. I had it backwards.
Well, I do the same thing with Bomb Rush Cyberfunk, or I keep saying Cyberfunk Bomb Rush or Cyber Bomb Rush Funk. It's like when you have two people, like a person who has two names, like Tim Derek or something like that. Like you want to see Derek Tim. So I don't know. It's a weird, it's a weird title, but it's a weird game. So I don't know if anyone was thinking about playing it or is going to play it. It is very puzzle heavy, but even as a person who's not really into puzzles, I think it's very accessible. And one of the other things I really like about the game is they explain the mechanics in such a way that it makes sense. I mean, obviously you're playing a dead person. It's not logical, but everything it kind of reminds me of the Hunter x Hunter Nen system in the way that like everything kind of has a reason to exist, and it's a well-defined reason that connects to another well-defined reason. So all of the powers kind of connect to each other that you get throughout the game, connect to the characters. Like, it makes sense in the world that it inhabits. I think that's really important for supernatural games like this. And I mean, I'm a sucker for detective games. You all know that. Disco Elysium, and of course, one of my favorite games of all time. So I love this game
LA
a lot.
Noire.
It's LA Noire. I still haven't played LA Noire, but it's on my wish list.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, so games like that, and I think this game's great. I hope everybody gets a chance to play it. I think it's really fun.
All right, Mitch. All right. What is your number 10?
I went back and forth on my number 10 a bit, because there's like probably at least 3 or 4 games that could go in that slot. In fact, probably like 9 and 8, depending on which day of the week it is. Those games could be in the number 10 slot as well. But as it is right now, I've got Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, the update basically, because well, to be fair, I only have 14 games that I've actually played from this year, and out of the 14, I have Disney Speedstorm as one of them. So no, not on my top 10 list. Not on my top 10 list.
Okay.
It wasn't that great of a game. But look, campaign.
Cut the list off at 9.
Yes. Well, wait till you hear what my number 9 is, James.
Okay.
So look, I in terms of like the multiplayer especially, yeah, it's a better, it's an improvement over last year. It's it's the type of improvement that I wouldn't have charged $70 for, but thankfully, because PlayStation Stars is a thing, I did not have to pay that much at all. Now, the big thing, I do want to highlight about this game is probably the zombies. I did not expect it to be as engaging as it actually ends up being. I saw that it was basically a DMZ clone, which again, I really like the idea of DMZ from Modern Warfare 2 last year, but I'm not an extraction shooter type of person at all, and I found DMZ, because it was PvPvE, to be just extremely punishing solo, and I just felt no desire to really ever return to that. Zombies is different though. Like it's entirely PvE, and if you do come across different players, it is extremely easy just to like assist them on like either objectives, or like you can even just like join up with their squad instantly. It has a pretty clear and consistent gameplay loop of like you drop in and then like you progressively go inwards towards the center for better loot and harder difficulty. It's definitely more skewed towards cooperative play, but solo is more than accessible this time around. And I'm just a big sucker of the zombies kind of formula and style in general. I do still wish that we had a proper round based map, but I don't mind this as like a little one-off experiment depending on how they update it. Yeah, that like there's really not much to be said on this. Like the multiplayer is just like a better version of last year's. Zombies is surprisingly fun. Campaign is the campaign. That's all I'll say on the campaign. But yeah, like James, have you played it at all, or?
I haven't. I refuse to spend money on it.
Yeah, honestly, not a bad idea. Not a bad idea.
But I've heard like lots of bad things about the campaign specifically.
Yeah, look, the campaign's aggressively mediocre. Like it actually does start out pretty great in the sense that it's like a linear Michael Bay action film, but then it just kind of devolves from there.
Yeah. And again, like the problem is that based on what I've heard about it, is that it seems like it's just purely the product of like Activision's insane commitment to the yearly release.
Yeah. Yes. No. 100%. 100%. I mean, like, what, for me, I think the campaign probably ended up taking close to, like, 6 to 7 hours, but that's just because I was trying to get all, like, the collectibles and those open combat mission things. So, really, if I didn't bother about that at all, it probably would have taken me closer to, like, 3 to 4 hours. But even then, it's like, with those open combat missions, it's funny because in some of them I really, really get the feeling that they were trying to go for like an arcane, Dishonored type approach where like there are genuinely multiple different approaches you can take. Like one of them, I ended up finding like an underwater cavern that took me completely around like the perimeter of like the main objective. And like you can, depending on like what weapons and equipment you select, you can go for a stealthy approach, but. And like the seeds of that are there, but with the way the objectives are constructed, you have no choice but to go loud and just, go for a big open shootout anyways. So it's like completely antithetical to like the approach you're trying to go for. I have a feeling that, obviously if they weren't limited to like what, I think it was like 9 months they said they had to work on this, or like 12 months. I feel like it would end up a lot better because, again, I can see the potential there, but even then, with the story that's in place at the moment, it doesn't. Like the 4s and 5s were more than deserved for the campaign. I'll put it that way.
It's funny.
Yeah,
Mitch,
anyways,
in the amount of time that we've been talking about this, I believe the campaign has already gone by twice. So I think that's really. I just want to celebrate that. I think that's really impressive. Good job, us.
Yep. Christopher Judge is in the background just clapping and smiling. Yeah. Yes.
All right, James, what's your number 10?
My number 10 is Hi-Fi Rush.
Oh.
All right, before we move on, I know it's going to be in some of our lists. For me, that is number 9. Dory?
Mm-hmm.
For me, that is my phone loading. For me, that is number 8.
All right. So, James, why is it Mitch?
Wait, Mitch, do you have it in yours?
Sorry, no. I was just gonna say I don't have it on my list. I haven't played it, but I'm happy with this outcome. I'm supporting it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm
Because you were like putting up your finger. I was like, does Mitch have something to contribute?
Well, Mitch doesn't have an Xbox, so I didn't think he played it. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Okay. All right. Anyway, James, continue.
It's I mean, it maybe would have been higher, but I didn't finish it because it started getting a little repetitive. But the core elements of what I like the gameplay, and I mean that's the thing everyone kind of praised about it when it came out, was because it's like a rhythm game, isn't it? But it's like I feel like I'm talking as if I've never played it before.
It's an action rhythm game, yes.
But it was a while ago. I played it earlier in the year.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like I'm gonna be honest. It's been far too long since I played it to talk about it properly. So I'm gonna let you guys talk about it first because you have it higher on your lists.
Oh, okay. Well, Hi-Fi Rush was really first of all, it was a shadow drop, right? We got it like out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, Tango DreamWorks is making this, and it was like the people that made Evil Within, right? And they made a colorful, really fun game full of like a fun cast of characters, very memorable like setting, like really cool, colorful. Everything about that game just has character. Like every setting, like every set piece, just fun. All the like side characters, the NPCs all had a lot of like fun with them. Like there's a lot of memorable moments, just like little goofy moments that the robots were saying. There was the mechanics, the gameplay mechanics, while hard to master, was still very accessible. Like it didn't punish you for not being perfect. But overall, the characters were really memorable. Like the cast of characters, I feel like they were very likable. They were easy to root for. I liked it. It had a pretty generic villain, I suppose, but I liked the whole like anti-corporate, take down the big CEO guy. Dory, what'd you think?
Yeah, I mean this was out of fucking nowhere. This was way high on my list in the first half of the year.
Yeah.
Even top 5.
Yeah.
I rhythm games are not always my thing. I loved Rock Band and Guitar Hero when I was younger, but besides that, I never really played a lot of rhythm games. And so I was never very good at matching to the beat, and I say that as somebody who played bass for around 10 years. So like even as a musically inclined person, I still found this difficult to master. It was so fun. I think the best part about Hi-Fi Rush is this game could have been painfully unfunny, painfully difficult to watch, very difficult to like listen to. The protagonist could have been insufferable, but it wasn't. Like this is like a really good like story of growth for what's his name, Chai, and for like his whole gang and stuff like that. He learns to be more responsible and he actually has funny jokes. Like this definitely feels like the kind of game where it could have been like, I guess that just happened, or like whatever. But they don't do that. Like they don't go for the easy fucking jokes that you've heard a million times. I mean, obviously they do every now and then, but even those, I feel like the voice acting is really strong. Yeah. The writing is really strong. Like Seb said, the anti-corporate stuff is my jam. It's always going to be my jam. I thought a lot of the different costumes and stuff like that were really cool. It was just a really fun game, and I had a really great time with it. Soundtrack, it was one of my favorites of the year, although I know it's just various artists. But I mean, fighting that first boss to Nine Inch Nails 1 Million, which is such an underrated banger. Most people don't talk about Nine Inch Nails' later albums. They talk about, Head Like a Hole and stuff like that.
Yeah, that game soundtrack had a lot of bangers. Like Black Keys,
so good.
Right in the beginning.
Yes, Black Keys, so good. Yeah. But just the boss fights, and then you Perfect Drug with the final boss fight too. Like, chef's kiss. Yeah. So good. Love that game a lot. Yeah. Favorite animation, favorite art design of the entire year. Lit up my entire life, and I was like, I never knew I needed a throwback to PS2 hack and slash with a rhythm game built in. Yeah. But now I do.
It had that Jet Set Radio vibes, without the skating, but with action. It had that perfect like PS2 Xbox era that Dory and I grew up with. And I also what I love about it is the pacing was really good, and it didn't over. I feel like it had a really good length.
It was like 10 hours.
Yeah,
or something?
like it was a It was a very linear platformer action art rhythm game, and it didn't overstay its welcome. It had I think it had a perfect length.
Yeah. I do want to say I slightly agree with James. I feel like towards the middle or end, I feel like there were points where it did get a little repetitive. I feel like your allies helped with that. And I slightly disagree. I know we talked about this before, Seb, but I slightly disagree. There are a couple of parts where you had to do some quick time events where I do feel like the game wanted you to be perfect on.
Oh,
that's true. That's like nitpicking, though. I
forgot about that.
Yeah. I mean, it is forgettable. It doesn't happen that often, but when it does, it's annoying because you really have to be like on beat, or else the game doesn't count it.
Yeah, that was my biggest criticism at the time. Is the game overall, generally the gameplay is accessible.
Yes,
you don't have to be perfect, but there's some parts where where lasers shoot at you and you have to perfectly parry it.
Yes,
and you get punished when you don't. And there's some parts in the boss fights where there's QTEs and you have to you have to get it right, or you you basically lose.
I found the QT fight-offs, battles, whatever, a little frustrating, a little stressful. But these are nitpicks. I think overall this game's really great, and I loved it. And I would like more shadow drops like this in 2024, please.
Yes, and this was my favorite Xbox game of the year. Like, this was my game of the year in terms of Xbox.
Yeah, easily mine.
Yeah, for sure. All right, James, do you have anything more to add, or we're ready to move on?
Oh, you guys pretty much nailed it. Just, I guess, that the thing that stood out most to me about it was those moments like the boss fights and the big set pieces. Like, the style of the game really comes through in those.
For sure.
Yep. Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about my number 10, which is Liza P. Liza P is basically Bloodborne 2, because we're never going to get that.
Electric Boogaloo.
No. But it's the closest thing you'll get to Bloodborne. It has an amazing gothic setting, and mixed with 1800s France. Um,
Mm.
It has satisfying gameplay, very satisfying gameplay. Awesome mechanics where you can combine weapons, so everybody can have a different play style. Um, all the villains and characters were very memorable. The storyline was actually really interesting. It had a really cool dark twist on Pinocchio. Um, it's a very memorable experience. If you like Souls games, I think this is the best non From Software Souls game ever. Or it definitely has a case if people disagree. But
I
What's
agree.
go ahead,
Mm.
Mitch.
James?
anything?
You go ahead. Right.
Oh,
Yeah, here you go.
okay. Yeah, it's actually my number 5.
Oh, very nice.
Big fan
Nice.
Elijah P.
Nice.
Even since the demo came out, the demo I talked about it a little on the podcast when that came out, kind of blew me away because
Mm.
I was hoping this would be good, but it kind of just it shocked me with how crisp the combat felt and how snappy it was,
Yeah.
and just like from a developer no one's really heard of before to kind
Yeah.
of come out out of nowhere
Mhm.
and deliver a game like this that feels like you kind of expect it to be a little rough around the edges.
Mhm.
Because developers try the Soulsborne games all the time, and it is that case.
Yeah.
But in this case, it really isn't. Like it feels like this game could have been made by From Software.
Yeah. It's very
Um,
polished. Yeah.
and I also fell in love with the aesthetic. The storytelling and stuff. Like it sounds like a gimmick to
Yeah.
make like this kind of dark gothic like twist on Pinocchio,
Mhm.
but the way that they do it, it works so well,
Yeah.
and it's such an interesting world
Yep.
to inhabit.
For sure.
What's funny is that I originally wrote this game off as because like I saw it's like a dark gothic twist on Pinocchio, but also like it's Bloodborne or Dark Souls, and I'm like I instantly got flashbacks to like those recent horror movie slosh things that have come out in recent years, like say like with the Grinch and Winnie the Pooh, where they've like gone into the public domain and people are just making a bunch of like just sloppy slasher flicks about them. So I just kind of naturally assumed, oh, okay, so this is just like the video game equivalent of that. I had no idea how much hype was surrounding this game in the lead up to its release, and I had no idea that it would end up actually looking and being reviewed as well as it is. As I was explaining to everyone, before we started the podcast, I recently only just beat Bloodborne for the first time. After like I think 6 years, I figured out, and I'm all into the Soulsborne hype train at the moment. I definitely am tempted to give this one a try at some point, but I'll just have to pick it up on sale soon. That's yeah.
It also has a cool like truth and lie mechanic. So like,
Yes.
throughout the game, you can choose to lie or not, and it changes the ending of the game. You can have a good ending, a bad ending, and it sets up a sequel. So we're probably gonna get a sequel. It's a really and that twist was crazy at the end, like the sequel bait. It's like, wait, what? And yeah, this was. I won't say, but yeah, it was really cool. Yeah. Awesome game. Awesome game. All right, let's move on to our number 9. Now, Dory, what is your number 9?
All right, everybody. I know you want me to show you the Savior of Light or whatever, but I got you the Herald of Darkness. Download too. I know I fucked up that line.
Blasphemy.
So that's my number 3. So
yeah, I'm sorry.
Mitch,
I mean, I'm
that
not
is
really
also
sorry.
my number. That is also my number 3. So
I'm evil.
What's the game?
Alan Wake 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was singing the song, the Herald of Darkness, Savior, whatever the fuck it is.
The champion of light.
James,
I know.
before you say anything, James? Is it on your list?
I don't think
I
he's
haven't had a chance
played
to
it.
play it yet. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, go ahead, James.
Okay. So I know it's
Yeah.
controversial that it's this high. Look, this is coming from somebody who did not like the first game. Come at me, comments / people online. I found the first game very clunky. I literally, when I was on my last legs with the game, I somehow jumped out of bounds and got stuck at one point. I think I even showed you guys the clip at the time.
I
And
feel like I remember that.
yeah, and I was
Mm.
just, my voiceover is like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And I just kept dying over and over again. I don't think there was adjustable difficulty while you were playing.
No, there.
I could
Oh,
be
while you were
wrong.
playing.
I could be wrong.
I mean,
There
look.
is
To
an
be
Alan
fair,
Wake 2. There is an Alan Wake 2, but
yes.
there's no. I don't think there is an Alan Wake 1, but I could be wrong. I don't remember. But look, so that's background. Look, this game is really great. I love this game a lot. The writing is some of my favorite in a year where Baldur's Gate, Spider-Man, a bunch of other really well-written games like Ghost Trick, Phantom Detective came out. That's high praise. I love the writing so much. These characters are excellently written. I've always liked the writing. I've always liked the avant-garde noir kind of feel of Alan Wake. That's never been the problem for me. The problem has always been gameplay. Unfortunately for me, it does continue here. I don't think it's as bad. I think it's much improved. I still feel like the dodging's a little off. Sometimes Alan Wake sections in particular frustrated me. And I felt like the checkpoints could be a little unfair. But despite those qualms, I think the character work, the voice work, the art direction, all impeccable. Incredible.
Yeah.
This was higher on my list for a while. And I think if I hadn't gotten so frustrated towards the end of the game, which I did, I thought some of the final fights were really frustrating. And I just didn't enjoy them as much as I did the rest of the game. But again, that said, the gameplay is really fun for the most part. When you're dodging, it feels like the characters have like a herniated disc in their side or some shit. But for the most part, movement is better, a lot better than the original. And the characters are well done, and the mystery is good. And I love the Mind Palace. I love detective stuff. I've already said that. So this continues on that theme. But yeah, I mean, I have some criticisms of this game, obviously. But overall, I think this is a really great to almost excellent game that just barely missed out on being in my top 5.
All right, Mitch.
So you dropped it down to your number 9 spot.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really rough competition. I don't know. Even the smallest mistake kind of makes you slide down to number 9. Sorry.
Mitch,
yeah.
All right.
Mitch,
all right, guys. Roast me.
Mitch, you can go next about Alan Wake. Go ahead.
Yeah, look, Alan, I mean, basically everything she said, I did like the first Alan Wake game, like, mainly when I played the remaster a couple years ago. I mean, for this one, though, it's like, it basically took Alan Wake 1, whereas, like, it was like, okay, cool, interesting story with some decent ideas, so-so gameplay, to just be much more refined and concise and basically yes, this is what I think of when I think of Alan Wake. This is the exact kind of genre and gameplay and pace that I think of when I think of what this game is about. I somewhat contrary to what Dory was saying, I actually found some of Saga's areas or moments more frustrating, just because of those fucking hatchet throwing enemies that zip around everywhere. And I mean, I don't know if it was a skill thing, don't say it was.
Good.
But it's just a matter of like certain moments were frustrating when I was just backtracking through certain areas and then enemies 30 to 50 pistol bullets saved up to
I will say that's another small thing. I wish there was fast travel. It does feel sometimes when you're in the map that you're just running around too much. And again, these are nitpicks. I think the game's fantastic overall, but not fantastic. It's really great overall. But,
I would say it's nitpick. I think it's a proper criticism.
Okay. I'm trying to dilute it. But yes, it is an actual problem. I'm trying not to come off like negative Nancy, downer Dory. But
sure.
It is your number 9.
I do. I think in a lot of ways, the approach they're going for was definitely like Resident Evil 2 Remake, where it's like, in that game, all of the areas are very much so, interconnected and such. You definitely get a lot more of that feeling with Alan's sections, less so Saga. But I do, like, I'm just in awe of the fact that, it's like, for Saga's, stuff alone, it's like probably 3 times the amount of environment as Resident Evil 2 Remake, and it has probably 3 times the amount of like puzzles and side areas that you can explore, and collectible documents, and just actual lore that you can really just get into. And like the brilliant thing about it is that like I for the most part I ended up platinuming this game, just like my first time around without following any guides at all. I just explored everything. And I came across so many just cool details and like hidden side stories, I guess you could say. Like the second I started playing the game, I just was patting all of the deer heads, just like, on my own, like no, unprompted. I had no idea it was a trophy requirement or like, went towards anything else. And then about like 2/3 of the way through the game, I like, I actually saw that there was a deer head in her mind palace, and then it's like, oh, you have 3 more remaining. I'm like, oh, okay, so what I was doing up to this point actually, was worth it for whatever reason. Like there are so many.
I also had that realization. Yeah, because like every time she goes up to a deer, it's just she's like petting it, and I'm like, oh, that's nice at first, and then I'm like, why is she so like into deer? It's like a gameplay thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I also want to shout out the soundtrack. Soundtrack's fucking killer. The sound design's fucking killer. I know I was like memeing about the Champion of Light shit. Seriously, one of the hardest songs I've ever heard in my hardest in terms of it being so fucking good. That blew me away. Yeah. It's literally like a Dream Theater song. I know you all probably maybe don't know or listen to Dream Theater. They're like a progressive metal band from Boston originally. But anyway, they're like, it reminded me a lot of like a really good like progressive metal song. So I thought that was just awesome. Just and their moment on the Game Awards, so well deserved. But yeah,
it stole the show 100%.
Yes,
and I'm
absolutely.
glad that
200%.
I'm glad that I'm seeing so many comments of like people saying it's like, I have no idea what this game is about, but this song or this moment,
people love goofy shit.
Go and play it.
Alan Wake is so good at balancing the horror and the goofy shit between the fucking finish like commercials and the like absolute horror of some of the bosses and some of the encounters. I don't know how they did the balance. They balance the books on this one, but like one minute you're like in an old folks home, and the next minute you're like in a basement, and you're like, oh my god, I'm gonna die. Like, so yeah, it's
exactly.
Incredible.
It's 100%, and yet you only have it number 9.
I know.
About that,
Look,
Dory.
That's just how fucking loaded this year is. Okay, that's always gonna be my excuse. I still think it's a really great game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Seb,
I'll take your word for this one. Yeah. Yes.
All right. So Alan Wake 2 would be my game of the year in any other year, in a non-Elden Ring / Baldur's Gate kind of Tears of the Kingdom kind of thing. I think it was in a tier below that. As you guys pretty much hit on everything. To me, it's the best survival horror game of the year. And you guys know how much I love survival horror. Why I love it more than the other games that I'll mention later on is that I feel like the set pieces were very memorable. I love just like the lighting, the hotel section, the faculty section, when you're in the mental health place. That place is legitimately one of the best horror elements.
So good.
It's. I mean, like I could talk endlessly just about like how inventive this game is, and like how they use like full motion video, like live action cutscenes with like gameplay, and how just like seamlessly integrated it is to the point of like you just don't even question it.
So far with the FMV element, it's so good. I'm so excited for the Remedy Cinematic Universe, the RCU. At this point, it's got to be more successful than another cinematic universe out there. But I digress. But anyway, I'm really excited for this. And I hear also we're gonna get some Max Payne remasters or remakes or some shit. So I'm into that.
Yeah. Well, I played the original Alan Wake like way back in the day in 2010, and it was a memorable game. It has its problems, but this game is a lot better. It's a huge improvement over the first game.
Yes.
This like as Mitch said, this game is like borrows from Resident Evil 2 remake.
Yes.
That's the style now. They're behind the shoulder. Like a more modern version of like Resident Evil 4, like the original. It's just the more modern. Yeah, you guys hit on everything. I love the soundtrack. I love everything. The look of it. Characters I love the Mind Palace. So I guess I'll just hit on the little nitpicks. I thought there was too many jump scares. Like some of them are just really cheap.
Yeah.
Yep.
Especially in the mental. Even though I love the mental health place, there was there was way too
Valhalla.
yeah, there's way too many jump scares. With
Yeah.
And even though I agree with you, by the way, I did get scared a couple times by jump scares, but you're right, they are very cheap.
Yeah.
I was with it at first, but over the course of the game, I'm like, okay, guys, like we need to wrap this up. We need to get back to the psychology stuff.
And
I do also want to say, sorry, I do also want to say as well, I'm not sure how you guys think about it. I'm not as big a fan of the Alan Wake sections, just because the whole idea of like, okay, go to a place, swap around a bunch of like, scene ideas or concepts until you get the right one.
Yeah.
Didn't really vibe for me as much.
Yeah. I think it's cooler in theory than it is in practice, but I didn't mind it in one way or the other.
Yeah, it wasn't the.
But I agree, it's not. It's cool. It's really cool the first time you do it.
Yeah.
And then by the time you're like at the hotel for the millionth time, you're like, okay, I feel like I've seen.
Yeah, I was already kind of over it by the end of that subway section, to be honest.
Yeah.
I was just like, yeah, okay.
The gameplay wasn't amazing, but it was a little clunky, and sometimes I feel like some of the enemies were like a little annoying, like you guys mentioned with the hatchet and stuff. But the best part of the game is the story. I think the story like is just probably the
phenomenal.
Best, might be the best of the year. In terms of, like, I just love like the whole mystery of Saga trying to find your kid, and was the kid even real the whole time? Was the whole thing made up? Alan Wake, right? There was so many dynamics to the story that like I thought were really interesting. So good. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to the next one. I'm very excited.
Yes. Last thing I will say about this game, probably one of the best cliffhanger / sequel baiting I've seen in a while from a video game specifically.
Yeah.
Well, has anyone
teasing the next game?
Has anyone played the New Game Plus yet and like beat it?
No, I haven't. I don't know if I'm going to.
I would New Game.
Well, look,
I watch it on YouTube. So.
Yeah, I was gonna watch it on YouTube and then I forgot. So that's basically the story
fine.
there.
I have not been spoiled on what changes they made to the ending and like what they add. Like I know they have.
It's a different epilogue and shit like that. Yeah, I don't know the whole thing.
And like I know they've added in videos with a certain character from the Remedy connected universe, whatever they're gonna end up calling it, but. I haven't had any of that spoiled for myself yet. I'm excited to hop back into it, but I've also realized that I've got Valhalla to play through and a bunch of other shit to get sorted. So I've no idea when I'm going to get around to it, but I'm excited for when I do.
All right, we ready? We gotta start moving on now.
All right, let's move on.
Yeah.
All right. James, you there?
Yeah.
All right. What is your number 9? Actually, no. This is actually. I think Mitch should be next. Actually, my bad.
It should be
Sorry.
next.
Yeah.
Mitch is next.
For number 9, I've once again, I think for like the second or third year in a row now, I've gone for a game from a certain publisher that. Produces games that come out early on in the year. I play the demo of, and I'm like, no, not for me. This sucks. Terrible. And then then I Outriders. No.
Outriders
it's
too.
It's actually a game where, ironically enough, the people speak way too much to the point of needing a slider in the settings for Forspoken.
Ooh.
Yay!
Oh wow!
Well,
Wait,
Mitch,
oh my God!
You're really going.
Come out?
Yeah.
Wow!
It came out in
I forgot
February.
Forspoken came out this year. Holy shit!
Mitch,
is that a fucking dragon?
Mitch, you're really going for the popular list. This Call of Duty
I
and
know.
Forspoken.
Yeah.
I promise it gets better from here on out. It gets better from here on out.
Just like 10, 9, underline, gets better from here. Little markers.
Can't be much worse.
Look,
Honestly.
I will say though, I mean, like as I said earlier, like my 8, 9, and 10 could really just be almost completely interchangeable. That being said, like I haven't been Forspoken yet. I'm only about like up to chapter 6 or 7. The story is about as terrible as you'd imagine. Like, I mean, all right, it's not terrible. It's just very unimaginative, and I feel like, of course, the main character is not nearly as likable or interesting as the game wants you to think it is.
Yes.
It feels like a really weird mix of like Yakuza style games where like you have all like, all those little side quests and hub areas where you can do like little, side stories for characters and stuff. It has like, the same kind of, it's not UI, but like, like it's kind of like broken down in the menus the same way. The gameplay, though, I will say, because like I said this right back probably a year ago when I played the demo for the first time, the demo was a terrible onboarding experience for new players because it literally just drops you into the middle of the game with like pretty much all of your spells and does not onboard you or like drip feed them to you in any way. That they just kind of like give you a bunch of shit to play with.
Yeah.
Don't explain like the actual intricacies of the combat at all. And like when I played the demo, I'm like, look, I'm sure in the full game when it's actually drip fed to you, it's going to be a lot better. And it is like the gameplay wise, it's a lot better. There's a surprising amount of like collecting and like there's a lot of icons on the map. Not an overwhelming amount, but there's enough to definitely keep you busy for a little bit more than I would have liked. But I do appreciate the open world itself is massive already, and I probably haven't even explored like a third of it. But I do appreciate, not only just how you explore, like run around and parkour and jump and how you maneuver the environment, but I also really do appreciate the fact that the environments look surprisingly nice, like all things considered, and I think there's a good amount of lore and backstory that I'm actually semi-compelled to look into. But it's like it's the definition of one of those like middle of the road games where it's like, yeah, it's good, but like it's not great. I definitely don't think it's deserving of like any like 3 or 4s out of 10s. Like it's perfectly middle of the road, and I can definitely understand why some people might end up really enjoying this game, and for some potentially even a cult classic down the line.
Hey, Mitch.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up here, I got a very important question for you.
It cut out there,
that?
but I know the line.
Good
Wait,
attempt.
let me put up back further.
No, it's still not. It's not working.
No,
it's still cut
Jesus
out.
Christ.
Nope, still not being picked up by
that
the
a
mic.
motherfucking dragon? I can't believe that cut out. I had it further from the mic that time.
Yeah, but
Damn, ruined
you
my
want
fucking
closer.
joke.
I beat
Fuck
the
you, YouTube.
I beat the game. I thought it was very average. Like I thought the gameplay was very fun.
Yeah.
Like the traversal was the best part of the game. That was really
Yes,
fun.
for sure.
Uh,
I like that in the demo.
What frustrated me was, first of all, like you get new spells, and then like you get them like late in the game, and then they don't explain any of them to you, and there's like overwhelming amount of them.
Yeah.
And it's like you didn't even, like
I-
there's one of them they give you, and it's like you give it to me like 95% into the game. Like why are you giving this to me at the end? And the storyline
I've
was
just-
mid. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say where I'm at the moment is because I've done a lot of like exploring and like just like upgrading certain abilities because for some reason the way you upgrade like magic in the game is you like basically set challenges for like each spell. So it's like do 15 do X amount of damage with this spell, or like do this spell 15 times or on 15 enemies, stuff like that. But you can only have 3 selected at a time. So every time you complete them, you have to go back to like your little like rest areas or safe havens, and then like okay, mark that you've completed the upgrades, and then you have to go into this book menu thing, and then you have to select more upgrades. It's a very slow and tedious process. I don't know why they've outlined it like that.
Yeah.
But it's like, so yeah, like the point I'm at the moment is I've just gotten the first set of like new spells or new type of magic you get, like the fire one. And it's like, I'm enjoying the variety, but it's like, I can definitely see what you were saying there to the point where it's like, if they're still, just dropping a shit ton of like new spells and gameplay mechanics, so to speak, on you that late into the game, it's like, even in the demo, it felt I mean, in the demo it felt overwhelming as it is, but it's like I'm not like it's to the point where because each of them kind of serve their own purpose. I'm not sure whether the devs were trying to create a system where it's like, okay, you know, kind of like Doom, where you have to like flick between different weapons and magic types all the time, or whether they're trying to like basically say, hey, you have all these options, just kind of like specialize on whatever you want to.
Right.
You know, like I can't, I do not have, I can't get the vibe what they're trying to do approach wise with it.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I think we should move on now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's forspoken.
Yeah, very average.
Is that
game.
a motherfucking dragon?
Yeah.
Mm.
All right, James, waited long enough. What is your number 9?
All right. My number 9 is Forspoken. No, I'm just kidding.
No,
My
no.
number 9 is Sea of Stars.
Oh, nice. Fuck yeah, let's go.
Is that on anyone else's list before you start? Before he?
It's not on my list, but it was so close to being on my list. I wish it had been.
Same.
It might not have been. It might not have been on my list if I'd played more games this year. But
Yeah.
I was very excited for Sea of Stars. The developer's previous game, The Messenger, was one of my favorites the year it came out. Sea of Stars is very different. It's not as funny. You know, The Messenger was very much about the humor.
Yeah.
In the writing. This one is not.
Yeah.
But it's still very well written, and I was surprised. I'm not usually a fan of turn-based games. There are exceptions. But I was surprised at how intuitive and just enjoyable to use all the menu systems and stuff were. And that seems like a weird thing to praise about it on a Game of the Year podcast, but that was one of the things that kind of drew me in very quickly with the demo for the game. And the art style is terrific. It's just gorgeous from top to bottom. And I haven't finished the game. But one of the other things I really like about it is the fishing minigame.
Yeah.
As fishing minigames go, it's quite unique. I won't go into detail about it, but yeah, that's pretty much the overall picture.
I'm so hyped that we get to talk Sea of Stars because I really want to talk Sea of Stars. Look, you know, if we end up talking about a lot of turn-based games in my list next year, we can fucking thank Sea of Stars because literally Sea of Stars was the beginning of me. I know Seb's very excited about this, about me like getting more into turn-based games and realizing, oh, I was relying on my 9-year-old self playing Final Fantasy VII to decide what 32-year-old Dory thinks about turn-based video games, which is a very weird, strange thing to do now that I think about it.
Persona next year, let's go, baby.
So I love this game, and you know, definitely a game I would marry and have children with. No, but seriously, the art flipping slaps. It's awesome to look at. It's so beautiful. The water, the land, just everything. The characters are really written. Of course, Garl is incredible as a side character. Might as well. I mean, he's my protagonist. But anyway, you know, Zale and I forget the female protagonist's name. But they're both really well written. But they're, you know, a little bland kind of hero characters. But there's an interesting twist. I like what they do with the whole Avatar. It's kind of like the same Avatar, the Earthbender discussion of like, well, it's your destiny, but do you want it to be your destiny? Kind of classic trope. Chosen one, but the burden of being a chosen one. The combat itself is really fun, really, really fun. One of my favorite moves was the crescent moon thing, which you can just hit back and forth between. I think I got like a 30 plus loop at one point or something like that. It was so fun, so satisfying. I will say a couple small criticisms. And I'm always going to say this during turn-based discussions of turn-based games. I'm sorry, because this keeps being a fucking trope. But bosses heal themselves. I always hate it. I always feel like it makes fights tedious, and I'm not going to go on about it because I've talked about it before. That's just my opinion. I wish there was a slider or a toggle. That way everyone can be happy, because I know some hardcore turn-based people really like that feature, or at least will defend it. Not for me. I kind of don't like it. I hate it. But and in action RPGs, to be fair, I hate it in Birth by Sleep. I hate it in Dream Drop. I hate it. Period. Anyway, but besides that little nitpick, and there's some nitpicks about like the true ending. I don't like the true ending, and I did not try to get it. I think actually the true ending really undermines a really important. I won't say like specifics, James, but really important, like powerful moment in the story. And I feel like I appreciate that the devs wanted to reward you for doing a lot of work, and it's a good amount of work, extra work. But it just feels like it undercuts like some of the important narrative. But all that aside, yeah, this is a really great game. I really wanted to talk about it because it really made me really reevaluate my positions on turn-based, because this is an ode to classic turn-based games. And if I like this, I'm probably going to like other turn-based games because I really loved it.
Yeah.
I did have some minor issues with it, but yeah, it's a really great game, and super fun. Kept my attention. It's about 25-30 hours, so it's basically a Kingdom Hearts game in terms of length. I think that's very accessible. And like I said, art style is gorgeous. Music is incredible. So yeah, Seb, I don't know if you have anything to add, but yeah.
I mean, you pretty much said everything. I beat it as well, and yeah, it's my indie game of the year. I absolutely love that game. It didn't make my list because this year was so loaded, but any other year I feel like it would have made it. I love turn-based. You guys know, I'm the main one in this panel that loves turn-based JRPGs, and this game is. It's not a JRPG, but it really captures that feel. It's absolutely gorgeous. The colors really pop. The soundtrack is phenomenal. The gameplay is really fun. I mean, it's very simple. Like, you know, it's typical. Yes. Like, you press X to block, and you can do double combos if you press X at the right time. Yep. But
so satisfying.
And it's very satisfying to do like the moon combo or the crescent. Was the crescent moon? Or
yes, the crescent moon or something like that.
That's
and
satisfying.
Some of the combos are so cool and innovative.
Yes.
I also think that the system where you have to use certain attacks to block enemies' attacks is really probably not inventive. It's almost certainly been done before. Yeah. But it's my first experience with a system like that, and I thought they did a really good job with it.
Yeah, and then also like. I found, like you mentioned, the storyline's really, really good. All the characters are really likable. Protagonists are not the most, like 3-dimension characters, but they're standard hero characters. But I love the boss designs in this game. The boss designs were phenomenal. Like, they were so memorable. Very, very memorable. This is a must-play game if you like turn-based RPGs, for sure. This was, like I said, indie game of the year. I was so happy it won. To get the Game Awards,
I was too.
Yes. All right, so let's move on. So I already said my number 9, which was Hi-Fi Rush. So we're gonna move to number 8.
Yep.
Dory already said her number 8 because that was Hi-Fi Rush as well. So so that would be Mitch now on your number 8.
Jesus, okay, that was quick. Well, I did say it got better from here on out. My number 8 is Mortal Kombat 1.
For the Switch, right? For the Switch?
Yes, for the Switch.
Yes, for the Switch.
You're really going. You're really going for the fan favorite.
Go ahead. Actually, no. I played.
I would love that too. If you said like, "Oh, it gets better from here." It's Mortal Kombat 1 (parentheses) the Switch version.
for the Switch version.
All right, go on.
Look, I was not expecting to pick this game up. Like, I think a lot of the material, especially for the story mode, it just didn't interest me this time around. I was a big fan of Mortal Kombat 11. Like, I loved the story mode. I loved the tone that they had. The bombast and like especially the way they did like customization for each of the characters and fighters in that game. I think that was the perfect mix of still going for the Injustice 2 approach of having some RPG light mechanics with like different gear pieces you can equip, but then also balanced it out with different moves you can equip and different just skins and color variants and stuff. Like, I think and even the crypt being like a fully like third person, just almost a dungeon crawler. That was just like a huge time sink for me when I played that game. And I just really loved 11. 1 kind of feels like,
You mean one?
one step forward. Yeah. Or no, I was talking about how I really enjoyed 11. 1 feels like sort of 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, or maybe 2.5 steps back in a way. Overall, I can't say I enjoyed it as much as 1, but over time, I think there are aspects of it that I have come to, at the very least, appreciate. Like, I do appreciate how it's a more laid back kind of approach to the game. You've got like a somewhat smaller roster. We don't have to go for, like, they don't have to go for like massive bombast and like, you've got fucking like time travel and shit everywhere, and like it's a simple story. It does. That being said, by the end of the story, it does kind of, go into a certain other. I don't even know if I'd call it a genre per se, but like a certain cultural trope that we're seeing in superhero movies a lot lately that I wasn't a fan of as much. I'm interested to see where they take, the story of this franchise in the future, though. Johnny Cage in the story is fucking just the worst. Which I never say, but I hated him in this game. But like, I know it sounds like I'm critiquing this a lot, but like, it's a very fun, very basic, just fighting game beat 'em up that I've sunk like probably 20 hours into so far. The cameo system as well, like, really love that addition. I think what my main. I forget who I mained, but it was sort of a lady with like a katana sword.
What's her
Lee
name?
May, I think. Yeah, the one, the one with the like sort of jagged face and.
Yeah,
It only gets
the
better from
cool
here, folks. Just
sword.
remember, it only gets better from here.
That one. Look, I haven't played it since Spider-Man 2 came out. Unfortunately,
No, that's okay.
That game overtook my life. But look, I'm really excited to at some point get the season pass just so I can play with Omni-Man and Homelander and Peacemaker. That's all we want to do at this point, really.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, like it's. I think in a lot of ways it is like a return to form to like the more basics, kind of Mortal Kombat fighting design. I've seen quite a few people praise like, 1's direction over 11, since I feel like I'm pretty sure 11 got some pushback from certain parts of the fan base.
Yep.
I could be wrong on that. Seb, you might be able to correct me on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that those are my thoughts on it. But like, I mean, you played the game as well earlier this year, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm the one that gave the game impressions on
Yes,
the podcast.
that's right. Yes.
And I beat the story mode. I did the I forget what it was called, the crypt thing, where the
invasion.
I thought that was okay. That was very repetitive.
Yeah.
It kind of lost me.
Yeah.
I thought this game just lacks content. But
It does.
But I really like this. I like the story. I mean, it is the typical time travel thing, but it had a lot of fan service that I love because I'm playing Mortal Kombat since the '90s, and I just love.
Yeah.
It does like an Avengers Endgame like kind of big finale.
Yes.
Thing.
Yes.
And I really liked, and I liked you could pick your own character.
Yeah.
I picked Sub-Zero because Sub-Zero is my main since day
I
one.
picked Scorpion.
Yeah,
but
Sub-Zero's always been my main.
Wow, you guys are like destined enemies or some shit.
Yeah.
That's like that's like top tier rival shit.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I want to point out as well is that I'm pretty sure they got the actor who played like Jin Sakai and Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah,
they did.
I heard about that.
Ghost of Tsushima to play Scorpion in this game. Yes.
That's rad.
Which is perfect casting.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything else.
It was a great reboot. I
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it wasn't. I don't think it's an amazing game. I think it's like a good, solid. I guess it's not solid, but it's like an 8 out of 10 for me.
Yeah. Well, despite what I said earlier, like,
That's
I
a good
think
score.
Johnny Cage aside, I do appreciate that they kept certain things the same, but made certain things and certain characters completely different than before. And then there's also Megan Fox on the side there, but we don't talk about her.
No. No, we don't talk about that. We don't talk about that.
No.
Yeah.
I think I've tried out every single character in the game except for her.
Yeah.
And it's not even like like an anti Megan Fox thing I have. It's literally just the fact that she just doesn't seem that interesting of a character.
I
to
actually
play
know like
as.
firsthand, like Mitch is like leading the classic like anti Megan Fox fan pages on Facebook. So just a
Yeah.
little bit of tidbit,
I've
a little morsel information for you.
I secretly have a bunch of vampire steaks and garlic dashed in
That's
my
right.
My only
Oh my
question,
dashed in my
god, that
cupboard.
movie.
my only question now is like, where
Mm.
do you go from here? Because the finale was like very epic, and it's like, what do you do now? Like, they
Mm.
did reboot everything, but it's like,
Yeah.
they're gonna have to be creative to make it the story mode interesting. But overall, good 8 out of
Yeah.
10. But I guess we should move on now. Anything more you want to say before we move on?
Oh yes, no. I biggest thing I appreciate is the fact that they've made like the cosmetics way more accessible for people now. Like back with 11, it was just like RNG all over the place, pretty much.
That's
As
why
for, like,
people
you know,
were pissed.
yeah, like what kind of like cosmetics and gear items you got.
Yeah.
Here though, it's like they keep it simple. It's like it's like I do wish you had more than one gear piece that you can equip per character. That just seems kind of like, what's the point?
Yeah.
But I do like how, yeah, like you have like, especially like each season you can just go in and they have like just like dozens of like gear items and cosmetics that you can just buy with currency right out the gate for the characters. And like, yeah, there are some paid bundles that have fatalities in them that I don't agree with. It's like leaning too far into like that Fortnite Call of Duty item shop territory that I'd like it to be.
Yeah.
But like I appreciate how like the vast majority of cosmetics you can get in this game can just be earned through regular gameplay. Like I feel like that's a rarity in the industry nowadays, and I think WB Games scumminess aside,
Yeah.
I do appreciate that they've gone for that approach, at least for this game.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. So James, what is your number 8?
So my number 8 is Party Animals. However, I only managed to play a couple games of this before my Xbox bricked. So I'm not going to talk about it. I'm just going to say that is my number 8, and
Okay.
we can move it along.
I mean, it looks like a fun game. I haven't played it, but yeah, okay. Let's move on. All right. So my number 8 is Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
God damn you.
Did anyone else have
Oh.
that on their list?
No, I had
had that
never.
as-
You know me, Seb. I don't care about Star Wars. No, it was number. Actually, to be fair, it was number 7. It was coming up soon. So
It was also my number 7.
Yeah.
So
Wait,
you guys,
Seb, what number was it for you? 8,
8.
7.
So you guys like to just
Oh, come on, man. We almost said 777.
That would have been cool, but
Yeah.
yeah. So Jedi Survivor, it was a huge improvement over the first game. Even though I love the first game, but it was
Yes.
definitely a huge improvement. Why? Well, first of all, like the backtracking was still there, a little frustrating at times. Not actually very frustrating sometimes. But
But we could fast travel.
But you can fast
We could
travel.
fast
And it was way
travel.
more accessible. Like the first game was
Yeah.
so frustrating. I would get lost. I spent like 20 hours in that game just getting lost. Like I would have got that platinum in half the time if I didn't get lost.
good.
In this game,
That one I think it's Zepho that planet
the
is, where it's
snowy
like it's
place.
got like the industrial stuff at the
Yeah.
it's a pain in the ass.
yes, but this game improves that in a lot of ways. Storyline I absolutely love. The characters I
Yes.
love.
Mm.
I love
Yeah.
I know
Yes.
Star Wars is my favorite franchise in the world, as you know. And I think Cal is a great character. I think he's a great addition. I want to see him in live action.
Yeah.
The same actor. I love just all the moments. Like there was I really like the ultimate. Even though like the villain was like, I guess he's not the most well-rounded character. I thought the twist at the end was really
Yes.
amazing. I think that.
I thought
Yes.
that I didn't get spoiled on it, and I'm not going to spoil it here.
Yeah, I didn't either.
It fucking
No.
took me out.
Yes.
I was like,
I-
the fuck?
I kind of called the one aspect of it, but I can't say. But I did.
Yes.
That was
Yeah.
very. It was
All I'm
it's
saying,
predictable,
look,
but,
all
yeah.
I'm saying is
I got
I am getting a little tired of people surviving Order 66 or whatever, because it just It just
Yeah.
makes the Empire look a lot like when that first happens, it was like, holy shit. But as the years have gone on, it's become less and less impactful because like this guy happened to survive and this guy happened to survive and this guy, it's like, I don't know. It's a nitpick. It's a narrative nitpick, but it does frustrate me because I'm like, can we not come up with any other explanation than I survived?
But
the
the gameplay was a lot of fun. I mean, it plays like a Souls game, but not like not as hard as a Souls game, but it has its moments.
Souls games for the kiddies like me. That's me.
I predicted this when Fallen Order came out way back in like what 2019.
Okay,
that I felt like for that game, like Fallen Order was like the Arkham Asylum to like Jedi Survivor's Arkham City. You know, is that like it's bigger, it's better, everything, like all the combat and gameplay is more in depth. They've like added pretty much everything people requested or like complained about from the first game. It's just a massive improvement across the board.
Wield.
Yes, from the beginning as well.
I did the whole game. So good.
The different.
But then they also added the cross guard and the blaster. It's like every time I'm like, yep, I love this style of like lightsaber combat. I'm gonna stick with it the whole game. They introduce a new one.
I thought, I almost always hate like heavy style, like really strong, but you're leaving yourself open kind of combat. I almost always hate that. That clicked with me so well. I was either really nimble and fast with the 2-blade, or I was like crushing them with the crossblade. It was so good.
Exactly the same.
Exactly the same. I use a lot of the pistol. And
I thought I was going to be doing the dual blade the whole game, but I barely used it.
That's the good thing with this game is I mix it up so much. I changed my costume and my lightsaber.
So much variety.
Lightsaber form like all the time.
100%. I usually hate swapping out cosmetics, at least for like my first run through of a game, because I'm like, look, I want the characters to look how they were intended to look. If they really want me to change the cosmetics in game, they'll do it themselves.
Yeah.
But I was constantly changing up my looks for this game. I was
the looks were so good. You could literally do a mullet with like a soul patch and like a wiry mustache. I mean, Cal just looks like he's going through the shittiest time of his life, which he kind of is. I want to say a couple narrative points were very obvious, but there's this thing in wrestling that we say, which is like sometimes something is obvious because it's the right choice. Like sometimes storytelling, the obvious thing you do is it's obvious because it's the right thing. And there's a certain romance that finally happens in this game that was almost like my number one like cheering moment of the year, where I was like, let's go. Like I was so happy it finally happened, because it's like sometimes like the obvious thing is obvious because it's right. And like that's what I thought. I do want to address the elephant in the room, which is that Star Wars sucks. No, I'm kidding. Which is that there were a lot of technical issues at start. Now I was lucky; I didn't have a lot of technical issues. So I can't speak from experience. But I mean, you can't deny a lot of people had tech issues. A lot of people now they have gotten fixed. There's been patches and stuff like that. Yeah, so that's great. But there were a lot of issues, and that definitely impacted my score.
I had a lot of this game would be higher. Possibly if not for the
I can quite confidently say that this would be at either my number 4 or number 5 if it weren't for those issues. Like I beat the game back in like what, April or May, and I haven't touched the game since. I desperately want to go back to the platinum, but I barely, like by the end, like by the last couple hours of the game, and like with the amount of frame rate issues and almost like I mean like the big final like climactic action cutscene of the game ran at like 2 FPS for me. And I was just like, it just took me out of the game so much. I'm just like,
that's horrible, dude.
The funny thing is that like even as updates were being pushed out, at the beginning fairly quickly, it just got worse as it went on for me. Like for the first hour or two, I'm like, okay, the occasional, frame rate dip, but like it's fine. And then like you got to like the big open world areas and like the really like, particle physics, like energy lightsaber thing, intensive cutscenes by the end. And I'm just like, this is just unfinished. Yeah. This is unfinished.
I will say
it really has impacted my opinion on the game, because like when I initially when I beat it,
should have delayed it.
I was like, oh my god, 100%. But it's like even then, it's like when I beat it, it's like, oh, that was a great story, great game, like
Yes.
8, 9 out of 10. And then I look back on it now, and it's like, and I struggle to even like want to give it a 7. Just because of how bad those
Wow.
issues were, like, and I'm sure
Yeah,
if I
that's
went
fair.
back to it
That's
now,
fair.
it would be
Yeah.
back up there. But it's just,
Yes.
it was.
That's interesting.
It's really
Considering
disappointing.
you have it ranked higher than I do. That you would give it
Yeah.
less.
Well,
'Cause I would give it like an 8.5.
But he also played less games than you did this year.
Yeah,
so,
to be
I mean,
fair, I've only got 14 games on my total
That's
list
fair.
as opposed to yours 55, 60.
Yeah.
But overall, I really like this game. Like the performance issues is what hurts it the most. But overall, I think it was like a very solid 8.5 kind of game
Agreed.
for me.
Yeah.
It was a really great
agreed.
game. I'm
Alright.
excited for the future. So
Yes, I am as
Yes.
well. I think there's a lot of really cool hints towards the next game. My only other critique is one of the boss fights towards the end of the game. Oh my god, I get why it's so hard, but damn, nothing made me feel like I was in Dark Souls more than that.
yeah, maybe next
yeah.
year we got you into turn based. Now we get you into
You're
Souls
funny.
games. We're gonna get you
You're
into
so
Souls
funny.
games.
You're so funny.
All of a sudden,
I know.
Dory's gonna be like, "What?"
What
Dory's gonna play Elden Ring. She's gonna be like, "Wow, I can't believe I missed this."
The only way I
What
would
is
ever
it?
play Elden Ring is if I
Okay.
got to play the spellcasting thing and I got to spam them from afar and just like
I mean, you could do that
shoot
in that
them.
game.
I know you can do that. I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But
let's-
anyway, we should move on.
Yeah, we're gonna move on now. So next person. So that was that was me. So next thing
Yeah.
so that was my number 8, and James said his. So now we're number 7. All right. So number 7 was Dory's Jedi Survivor. So that was Mitch's Jedi
Yes.
Survivor. So now we're on James's. We're on James's number 7.
James, number 7.
So, yes.
Oh. My number 7 is Payday 3.
Oh
Would you
wow.
believe it?
Oh.
I would not.
Oh.
Dory is fuming.
I'm not
Yeah.
fuming. I'm surprised, but I'm not fuming. This was actually my most disappointing game of 2023, probably. So yeah. But anyway, continue.
I find
continue.
that disappointing. The Payday 3 in every way is really just a refinement of the formula. I mean, it comes years and years after Payday 2. But it is the Payday formula kind of evolved. I mean, there are no surprises here, really. It's just more Payday. If you like Payday 2, then you will probably like Payday 3. It's that kind of it's that progression, that gameplay loop of being presented with this bank job that you need to do, figuring out the best way to go in and do it without getting caught, do it stealthy, the most efficient way to get as much money as possible. And it's just like the whole game is centered around this idea of learning how to do something and then doing it. It's in many ways like, I guess, a Dark Souls boss fight game, but different. I don't know what I'm getting at. But you know what I mean. Like,
You learn the
if you play
mechanics.
Payday,
Yeah, you learn the
exactly. Exactly. You
You get the
spend time
timing.
learning the mechanics, and that's
Yeah, I know
where
what
the
you mean.
reward comes in, because eventually you've done it so many times. Like, it's
Yeah.
repetition, right?
Yeah, muscle
You
memory.
you do it
Yeah.
so many times, and eventually you get to a point where you know it, but like the back of your hand, and that's what is satisfying about it, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like it's the same as Payday 2, because that's how Payday 2 was, and it's just more of that, which is great, and that's why it's my number 7, because I like Payday 2 quite a lot, and I also like Payday 3.
I actually never played it. So I never care for those games, but yeah, that's a good pick. I like when we have different games as well.
Yeah.
So let's
I did. Well, can I talk about Payday just a little bit, just like a minute?
go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah. So I played Payday. I was excited about it when I heard it because I'd never played Payday 1 and 2, and I love heist games, and robbing from rich people is cool, and video games. And hypothetically, I was really looking forward to this game. I played a couple games with James, and I want to say with a couple of other friends from our friends at Draft Punks. And I had an okay time. I'm not like, I know I said it was my most disappointing game, but it wasn't terrible. I think a lot of it was just the rollout, the servers, it, and I know Payday 2 came out like this as well, but I feel like that makes it worse, not better. But so at least you can't say it wasn't, par for the course. And it was on Game Pass. So I'm not, contrary to what James said, I'm not like fuming about this pick, but I was disappointed with the game, and I wish it could have been better, because there is a fun game there and there are fun elements to it, and I think the shooting is pretty solid, and which it kind of has to be, and the heist elements are interesting. I played about the first 3 levels or so. I think I got to the club level, and then I just couldn't figure out what I was supposed to do, and the people I was with wouldn't help me, and I couldn't find anyone to play with, so I just kind of gave up, and it just wasn't worth the hassle, to be frank. I don't know who Frank is. And so I don't know. I like this game, but it was not ever going to touch anywhere near my top 10. But, like I said, I agree with Seb. I think it's great that we have a diverse list. I'd rather have that than everybody saying, obviously the very same list or whatever, or similar games. I think the differences are what makes this interesting. So yeah, Payday 3 had some really cool ideas. I just think the dev team, I don't know if it was crunch. I don't know if it was just they needed more time and their parent company didn't let them, or what. But this needed more time on the stove, so to speak, to really come out. But like I said, some cool ideas, and I'm sure down the line, especially once it gets, and I'm sure it already has been somewhat patched. I know the servers are better, for instance. It'll be a much better game for it.
Right. All right. So let's move on. So my number 7 is Final Fantasy 16.
Motherfucker.
Can
I get to one of my goddamn games?
Dory, where is that on your list?
5. Number 1. Oh,
yeah, it's number 1. Fuck off. No. It is not number 1.
We'll get there.
That game had too many problems to be number 1.
So Final Fantasy. Once again, Dory has a game higher than me.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 16 had the best boss battles of the year. Like, the cinematics was just dropping.
Chef's kiss, double chef's
kiss.
It
was like, oh my god. Like, I thought my PS5 was gonna catch fire. I mean, the PS5 wasn't making noise, but it was like, oh wow, I could see why some people's PS5s were crashing, because it was like, wow, like, this is some video game. And that's what I love about it. It's so over the top, batshit crazy, and I absolutely love it. And the soundtrack is epic. It's the best soundtrack of the year, as it won a Game Awards. And yeah, it was. And I love the characters. I was very emotional at the end. It had an amazing ending for me.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, luckily it all ended up happily, right? Because all Final Fantasy games have happy endings. That's why they're called Final Fantasies.
Yeah, all of them have
right?
happy endings. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody goes. Yeah. And then. I know why some people are disappointed, but I had a lot of fun with the gameplay. I mean, it gets repetitive. It has a lot of side quests, like fetch quest, MMO kind of style, and the pacing got very inconsistent. You know what I mean? Because you have a big epic battle, and then like 5 minutes later, it's like 7 hours of fetch quests, and then it's like, oh, now we're having an epic battle again. So I got frustrating. It's why it's not higher on my list, but the big moments stand out more than any other game.
This is a game that is defined by its high moments for me. This is a game where its highest highs are just mountains and peaks above its relative valleys. I am one of the defenders of the side quests. Now, I'm not saying like they're amazing, incredible, favorite side quests of ever, but I do think they've been a little bit slept on. I feel like they do build up on each other. Now, I agree it takes too long, but for me, the side quests were always a nice change of pace. It always felt nice to take that breather from these huge climactic boss battles. I know that's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just want to get right back into the battle, and you're like, no, I don't want to do a merchant quest, fetch quest for this guy, and go halfway across the fucking continent.
Yeah.
So I totally get it.
At least there was a lot of fast travel.
There's a lot of fast travel, and it was legitimately fast.
Yeah.
The landscapes are gorgeous. We can't go this section without talking about the soundtrack as well. I know James has been wanting to say something.
Go ahead.
James.
Yeah. So yeah, this was my most disappointing game of the year, because it's those there's a masterpiece, like clawing to get out of this game. Like I 100% agree with you guys. There's like those high moments are just unbelievable, right? Where you've got the music and like these two what do they call them again? The big things.
What were they called in this game?
Uh,
I always call
shit.
them.
Icons.
Uh,
Icons.
icons. Thank you, but they were
Yeah.
spelled weird so that they were
I always
cool.
call them
Yeah,
ions.
yeah.
But that's the other Final Fantasy games.
Anyway, you've got the two icons like
The
going
summons.
at it,
Yeah.
right? Like, and it's this
Yeah.
huge fight, and it's this
Yeah.
epic thing. And then immediately, like 2-3 hours of talking to people over the shoulder,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
go and fetch quest and this and do that. And that just totally killed any interest I had in the game.
Mm.
Like the first 2 hours, unbelievable. I was so invested. Like this is my game of the year. This might even be my game of the decade.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like is what I'm thinking. And then it's like it just all goes away, and then it comes back a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and then it goes away again, and then there's just so much of that I just lost all motivation to play it, and I never finished the game.
It's like that chart I've seen online where it's like we're so fucking back. Oh, we're so done. We're so fucking
Yeah.
back. We're so done. Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't.
Exactly,
I agree
yeah.
with you. I just don't. It didn't hit me as like, oh wow, I hate this game now. I thought it was like, I thought the gameplay was fun enough where like it kept me going. But I
Yeah.
do agree the pacing was the worst part of the game. I think the pacing was just inconsistent because it
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
wow, and then it's like
I think
7 hours of fetch
it-
quest.
I think it bothered people in different amounts, and that
Yeah, for
has
sure.
been, I think, the defining
It bothered
factor
me
in
definitely.
how people liked it.
Yeah, I think it bothered James the most. Seb, like in the middle of me the least. Like for some reason that just didn't really matter to
Exactly.
me. I don't know why.
I'm
I
somewhere in
can't
the
like
middle.
give you. Yeah, I don't give like I can't give like a huge reason why. Like it just didn't bother me. But for me, it's like I think like after every single boss fight, I was like gasping for air, and I was like, "Are we going on a 2-hour fetch quest? That sounds great because I really need to take a breather." So for me, it worked. But I totally get like y'all's like point of view, like why it didn't work as much for y'all.
Yeah.
This is one thing where like I totally get it. But yeah, like we've been talking about, like boss fights were incredible. I thought the combat was super good. Even up into the late game, I felt like a lot of the ability to switch around really made the game really well. I just played the DLC Echoes of the Fallen. It just really reinvigorated or reinforced to me why I love that combat so much. But yeah, I mean, great characters, voice acting, obviously phenomenal. The writing is terrific. Just if the combat and the pacing were better, this would have been higher up on my list. But it wasn't, so it isn't.
Yeah, like this game could have been a masterpiece, but like I said, the problems keep it from that. It was like James said, it's like right. It was like it if they clean things up, it could have
Yes.
really been like one of the greatest Final Fantasy games ever. But I still really love this game overall. I loved Clive. I think he's gonna be one of my favorite Final Fantasy protagonists. I really liked Ben Starr's
He's so good.
performance. In my opinion, he was the best performance of the year, in my opinion. And I was really into the story. I did have issues with the Ultima story because I thought it was very Final Fantasy generic. Because I beat every Final Fantasy game, and it's like
Yeah.
big bad guy pulling the string kind of thing.
I mean, at least they didn't say that this was Ultima's Final Fantasy. If they had said something like
That's the
that,
best line in the game.
This game would have been in the dirt.
Best line in the game.
Can you
This
imagine?
is your
Can you imagine?
Final Fantasy.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane. No one would ever do that.
Yeah. But I would have much preferred if they kept to the Game of Thrones
Yes.
level of storytelling rather than
I agree.
big Ultima pulling Kingdom Hearts kind
yeah,
of boss
I agree.
darkness
Darkness.
But I was really into the characters. I think that's one game. This game really also really shines for me is the characters. I was really emotionally attached to the characters. Like and the big sad moments, like the big like the relationship and with his brother, like the flashbacks with his brother near the end with the brother.
Yes.
Like
So good.
I was crying that whole ending. Like that, I was really into that. So no, I can't say other games did the same thing for me. So
Yeah.
that's
Torgal is also best boy for 2023. I'm pretty sure.
Yes, so this is why this game is in my top 10 because it has its flaws, but the highs were like really high.
So good.
It could have been
Yeah.
my top 3 easily if it fixed some things. All
Yeah.
right, So next person would be Dory, but we talked about your game already. That was number 6 would be. Actually, yeah, we're on number 6. So number 6 was Final Fantasy 16. So,
No, 5 was 16.
Oh.
I haven't talked about 6.
Okay, so you go ahead then.
Okay. Number 5. I'm a big fan of Nintendo
You mean
DS.
number
That's
six,
why.
number
No,
6. Number 6.
number 6?
Yeah, we're on 6.
Yeah, I'm talking about number 6.
Okay.
Sorry.
Good.
I'm a big fan of the Nintendo DS. That's why DS make. No, I'm kidding. Dead Space remake is my number 6. I don't know. That wasn't. That sucked as a transition.
Alright.
Sorry.
So Dead Space is number 6 for me.
Oh, great.
I have it
Please.
as my number 4.
Oh, okay. I want to do
Okay.
666. That would
Damn
be
Number 2 for me.
Where is
What,
it?
James? What do you have it?
Number 2.
Number 2.
Oh, wow. I really thought
Not a
Mitch was maybe
surprise.
going to say number 1. I was going to feel really bad.
No.
That's not a
So
surprise.
finally, a game all 4 of us can talk about. So it took me like the whole fucking year to play this game. I love
It
the
did.
original. I've played the original twice.
Yeah.
I want to say this game. So the funny thing is, this game would be higher for me if it wasn't so damn good at being a horror game. Basically, like the reason why this isn't not the reason, but one of the main reasons why this game's so fucking stressful. I couldn't play for more than 2 hours at a time. Like I had to go to bed. I literally had a period of my life for a few days or whatever where I was watching Barry on HBO and I was playing Dead Space, and like my mental health like went to the shit for like a couple nights, and I was like, why am I feeling so depressed?
I remember you saying
And then
that.
like I took like I took like mental inventory, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm watching a show about like a contracted killer, and also like bodies are blowing up in my face in Dead Space. So I was watching some really dark shit. So I took a break from Dead Space for a little bit and finished the masterpiece that is Barry, and then I picked Dead Space back up.
Yeah.
God, Dead Space is such a fucking great game. I love this game to death. Pun intended. The combat is so good. I got a new appreciation for weapons I hadn't. Isaac being voiced is really good. They gave more depth and characterization to the characters, especially Isaac. I don't want to like spoil anything. Although I mean, at this point, if you don't really know Dead Space, then I mean, come on, what are we doing here? But the letters in the title, in the chapter titles, is still one of the smartest things I've ever seen. Even though that's like normally like that would be such a silly thing, but in a video game where all the chapters are spread out, I think that's just such a smart thing. But anyway, the boss fights are really well done. The gore is just impeccable and incredible. I'm a huge horror movie fan. I love survival horror just like Seb does. I'm more into the action side of it than the horror side of it, but I still love the horror. Obviously, I watch 15 plus horror movies every year with Kim. YouTube.com/dford192. Plug for all the 5 people. But yeah, I mean, this is a great game. And audio design should have won audio design. It was incredible.
I agree.
Voice acting is not the best, and the story is it's interesting, but it's just kind of there. But the combat is just incredible. It's so visceral. And it is so. That was not a pun, but it should have been. My brain just does this. But yeah, I could go on and on. This is a fantastic remake. Oh, and you got rid of the
The turret section.
The turret section is much better, even though I was still confused at first about what I had to do, and it was kind of frustrating at first.
Yeah.
Once I figured it out, and once I found out there was like these little oxygen tank things outside, I was like, oh, this is fun.
Yeah, you hit on everything pretty much, but some more things. This game had one of the best. This game has one of the best like maps and directions. Like
yes,
so like after like, you play like Star Wars and we're like totally lost, and this game was like I was never lost in this game, and of course this game's more linear, but it's like very accessible. This game. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is literally one of my favorite games of all time, just because of the directional stuff. Like we've talked about it before. Like my sense of direction is ass. It's like fucking terrible.
Yeah.
Dead Space is like, nah, I got you, and it's just like, here's exactly where you have to go. You fucking dumbass.
Yeah, Dory could drive a car and end up being in like Japan somewhere, just like
Yeah, like
somehow
I've somehow crossed the
across
ocean. I don't fucking know. I'm exactly like Bugs Bunny, like when I was growing up, and he was always like, oh, I knew I should have taken that left at Albuquerque. I'm like, I see you, Bugs Bunny. I know what's going on. I feel you.
Yeah. But you're right. I also love that they took out all the annoying parts of the original and
Yes.
fixed it up, like you said. This game, I mean, I'll go really quick. The animation's amazing, gore is
Yes.
amazing, lighting's amazing, beautiful game, absolutely gorgeous game.
Yes, so
Everything about
beautiful.
this
I
game.
did have some. I had some minor performance issues, which is also partially why the game isn't as high as some as maybe
Yeah,
like Mitch.
here and there for me too. There's some
Right. I had some performance issues, but I didn't have like any crashes and nothing like game breaking.
Yeah.
But I did have some stuttering. I did have some sound clipping, stuff like that. Which was disappointing because I do have like at this point like more RAM and whatnot. But yeah.
I will say as well, I forget if you guys just mentioned it, the sound design, it should have won sound design at the Game Awards, 100%. Like I picked it up about like a month ago, just to like, play through the first few chapters again, just to see how that goes. And I posted a clip to Threads, but like basically I was just in a room watching like one of those like Nicole hologram video things, and like I looked down for like literally just a second at my phone, and then all of a sudden there was like a jump scare type thing, and I just fully like you could see like the character like move and jolt like as if I was fuck.
Good thing like
and
controllers are not really wired anymore. Like you might have threw your whole PS5.
God.
Yeah,
God,
this game startled me
incredible.
so many times. Like I said, if this game wasn't so fucking stressful, and it took me like I think maybe the longest of any of my games on my top 10 to like fully beat. Well, maybe besides some
like
later games. But if it still didn't feel like dragged out, but like it felt like it was taking me forever to beat it because I would only play it in 2-hour segments because my heart was like racing. I was stressed.
Yeah.
I was like that Jordan Peele meme where he's like got fucking sweat coming like all down his face and shit like that. That was me. I was like, I played the original twice, but like they do the same thing like with Resident Evil 4, where they remix some of the original and they put like new things in new locations. But anyway.
Yeah, and it also has that adaptability thing that Resident Evil 2 remake does, like the more like the better you're doing, the harder it gets.
But I feel like it's integrated way more way more seamlessly in this one though. Like I'm not sure if it's like just the more claustrophobic environments and like how enemies just like or like more organically like kind of just pop out of nowhere. I'm not sure what it is, but like it's one of those things where it's like you notice it, but you also don't notice it.
Yeah. Right.
All the same. Yeah.
I will say some late game combat scenarios. That's one in particular that I died almost 10 times to. I found frustrating, but overall, I thought the combat was designed very fairly on normal. James, you had it on your list too. Did you want to say anything about Dead Space?
Yeah, number 2.
No, you guys hit on everything pretty much.
Okay.
I do like how they made Isaac look like a youth pastor in this version.
Hello, my fellow unitologists. What's up, kids?
But other than that, no, you guys hit on everything.
Okay, sorry to steal your thunder.
All right, I guess we can move on then, right?
Yeah, it's such a great game. I'm very passionate about it.
All right, so that was Dory's number 6. So Mitch, what is your number 6?
My number 6 is a surprise to me actually, in that it is I don't know why I'm doing a drum roll. Dead Island 2, a game that I didn't initially have on my radar for this year, but once it did kind of like at least like make a little bit of a blip on there, so to speak, I was all in. I wasn't. Yep.
Do you know what I find particularly interesting about that, Mitch? Is
what?
You wrote some pretty scathing things about the first game.
I did. Exactly.
Well, this game was so much better than the first one.
Oh my god, yes.
This game is to me it's the most underrated game of the year.
100%, and I think I'd put like so much of that towards the fact that this game had everything going against it, like everything.
It defies logic
yet-
because games usually take
Yes.
they go through this kind of hell, like development hell,
Yeah.
never end up being
Yeah.
good. But this game actually is a quality game.
Yeah,
Yep.
and the last game that this studio made was Homefront: The Revolution, which is like notorious for being
Yeah.
like, you know, one of the worst games that came out in like what, 2016 or something.
Yeah. or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's just I don't say I love this game so much, but I really did appreciate it. The combat was just fun and it was perfectly crunchy. I feel like weapon durability was like, you know, just punishing yet fair enough to the
Yeah.
point where it's like, you know,
Yeah. It
unlike
wasn't
in the
frustrating. Yeah.
yeah, no, exactly. But like it was, you know, like it wasn't like, you know, Breath of the Wild where it's like, oh, like the second you start using them,
That's
like,
true.
you know, like to the point. It
Yeah.
wasn't like
They-
where you didn't want to
yeah.
use anything because it would break.
They lasted a
It
long
was
time.
more, yeah, exactly. And like I feel like even with like say Dying Light 2, it's like even in that game, I feel like weapons just take far too long to actually start losing durability to the point where it's like, you know, I don't feel inspired to try anything else because I'll just stick to the same weapon for an hour. This game though, like, yeah, like it's great. Even like the range combat, like the shooting, that was like super rewarding and fun to experiment with. It has the best gore tech I've ever seen. Like even like Resident Evil 2 remake doesn't have a candle to this. Like just
Wow.
seeing like
Yes.
individual like, you know, like little flaps of like gore and like, you know, me
Yeah.
kind of like just flapping, like reacting to the wind. I was just like, I never would have pictured that detail
Yeah.
before, but I
Game had
can now.
Best score of the. There was an award for best score of the year. This game was the best.
100%,
By far.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the story not fantastic, and I don't love how they ended things, but like
Mm-hmm.
it's a small price to pay for the fact that we got this game
Yeah.
in the way that we did. You
I-
know, like I'm
yeah.
happy to take that. I also do want to say that like I love the approach to the open world they have, where it's like it's more just like I think it's like 10 or 11 different like hub zones basically, but like each of them are like super, like they have a lot of character to them. They each feel distinct. There's plenty of like, you know, like shops and buildings and houses that you can just fully explore. And it's like it rarely gets tiring. There's just so much character to this game, which I wouldn't have expected.
Yeah. To add to your point, this game does satire really well. Like it makes fun of like,
Yes.
social media people
Yes.
like very well. Like it's genuinely funny.
Yeah.
It's genuinely funny.
Yeah.
I'm with you on the ending. I did not like the ending. I think the ending is the worst part of the game. It just,
Mhm.
but you're not playing this game for the story. The
Yeah.
whole point of the game is to fight zombies and have fun. So
Yeah.
it really didn't matter.
Exactly.
So that's really where
No.
I'm at with that. Like this to me, I beat it. One of my I didn't. It's not on my list, but it was definitely on my list as one of the like if we did a most underrated games, it'd be number one.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
All right. Do you have anything more to say before we move on?
No, I'm just glad it sold as well as it did. I was not even expecting it to come remotely close to that, but it did. Like, I think it was like 2 million in its like first month or week even.
Probably the biggest surprise of the year too, right?
Yeah. Like I think like everyone
Yeah.
when they were reviewing it at launch was just like, yeah, so this is good.
How? Yeah. Right. So-
Yeah.
All right. So let's move on now. James, what's your number 6?
My number 6. I've been hyping this up. You guys
Oh
will
yes,
say
you
it.
have.
You have. So
Oh God.
Any guesses?
I don't want to look.
Spider-Man 2.
No.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Please don't say Baldur's Gate.
Resident
No,
Evil
we
4.
didn't play Baldur's Gate. Resident Evil 4. Okay, then I don't know.
Wrong again. Will I tell you?
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
Knack 3.
Oh, God, I wish. Knack 3 came out this year. It would be number 1.
Mm.
No, my number 6 is Tren.
Huh?
Is what?
Ren.
Tren. Oh, you guys have no idea what I'm talking about.
No, I don't.
No.
Hold on. No, I still don't. I searched it up. I still don't.
Okay.
Hold on. Tren game. Still don't. Hold on. Oh
Oh,
wait, it's
I know what you're talking.
hold
I know what that
on.
is. Yeah.
I
Oh,
know
it's
what this is.
it's the dreams people. Oh,
It's
fuck me,
feckin'
James. God
dreams.
damn it.
Yeah, I know this game. I know this
Yeah,
game.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah. Okay, go ahead. I get the joke now.
Dren is sort of okay. So sadly, I can't remember if it was this year or last year, but at some point, sadly, Media Molecule announced that they're ending support for Dreams.
Yes.
So what Tren is it's kind of a farewell from Media Molecule to Dreams. They released this game for free. You can play it if you have Dreams. You can play it for free in Dreams. And basically, what it is it's a puzzle game where
Yeah.
you control a toy train and you try and get it to the end of the level and solve these puzzles and stuff. And it's incredibly simple, but what's impressive about it is how satisfying the mechanics are and how well it works
Mm,
and how they made it within Dreams. And it proves the potential of Dreams. And what also really impressed me about it is how, okay, so like I was addicted to this game. I played it all the way through. There are three sets of levels, each with like a couple dozen levels in them.
mm,
Um, so like there's a good amount of content there. And each one of the levels, the individual levels, of which there's like probably close to 100, are all unique. Like that's the impressive thing. Like they managed to make so all of these different levels so unique and like each with like a different element and an evolution of an idea or like and all these different ideas and like it never gets boring. Like you can play every single one of these levels. You can play the game the whole way through and you'll never get bored because each one presents a different challenge and new mechanics and
mm.
stuff. Like they have different like it's not just the train. Like they eventually introduce a helicopter and like a crane and boats and all this kind of stuff. And it's very impressive and an adorable little game. And it's just if you like puzzles, they're not even difficult puzzles. Like
Mm.
it's just an incredibly satisfying game, and I cannot recommend it enough for free. For Christ's
Mm.
sake, like if you don't have Dreams, what are you doing? Go and buy Dreams right now. It is
Yeah. I'm sorry, James. I lost my dreams a long time ago, but I appreciate it.
Yeah.
anyway. My number six is
Fair,
Friend. Thank you.
fair, fair, fair.
All right. So that's James's number 6. My number
Hmm.
6 was Dead Space. So, moving on.
Yeah.
So number
My number 5
5.
was Final Fantasy.
So Dory's number 5 was Final Fantasy 16. So now we're on Mitch's number 5.
Well, another one that surprised me for being this high. I have Assassin's Creed Mirage.
Oh wow!
You really hit on all the
I ha-
like fan favorites.
I
like,
know.
Twitter's gonna love you.
Jesus
I know.
Christ, Mitch.
Twitter's absolutely gonna love you.
Well, I don't love it, so it can suck it. Now,
Fair enough. I'll give you that.
no, but I haven't finished it yet. Like I only picked it up. Oh God, not even a month ago, and there's just been so much that's happened since then. But I because I initially had this game on pre-order because like I got like a pretty good discount of it through Amazon, but I ended up canceling it because I saw the gameplay and I'm just like nothing that Ubisoft was showing off just looked that they were promising like it's a return back to like the classic days of Assassin's Creed, and it's like there's no RPG mechanics and it's more laid back and simple and straightforward, and then like I showed what they were giving us and it just looked like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but with a different map and like a different main character, and I was just like, I don't know, I was let down by it. But then I watched some videos, and now that after seeing more of it, I kind of realized, it's like, okay, it actually looks like the perfect harmony of new and old, which is exactly what I was looking for. And I played it, and I've had a blast with it. truly.
Yeah, it's Assassin's Creed I wanted. I like old school Assassin's Creed better than
Yeah.
the overly bloated giant
Yeah,
million missions
exactly.
on the map. Yeah.
And I from the leaks that we've been hearing about the next title, which is like the Japan one, Assassin's Creed Red, I think it's called, or at least the code name is at the moment.
Yeah.
I hope that after Mirage, the game takes more inspiration from Mirage than Valhalla. Like, I've from the sounds of it, like they're going like, you know, big open world map again, but like I hope they focus less on like, you know, the gear pieces with stats equipped to them and like, you know, perks and whatever, and just focus more on like, you know, like just a simple, you know, multi-pathed upgrade tree. Just have XP and like, you know, like coin to buy like, you know, new cosmetics or weapons or something like that. Like just keep it simple, stupid. That's all you have to do.
Right.
I also I do want to say though that I really do appreciate, because like it does take, you know, as per usual, it does take like a good hour or two to like really get into it, but once you're into it, you're just hooked with the game. Like I love the city. I've never felt more immersed into like an Assassin's Creed game before. Like I'm actively looking up all the lore, like, you know, little fragments that you find, and I'm kind of reading up what it's like to be in like Baghdad and like all these other places in that time, and it's like some really interesting stuff. And I really do like, I appreciate their different approach to like sort of storytelling and like questing, where it's like it's just an investigations board now. It's not like just like this simple, bland, you know, quest log where it's just like you have a bunch of like, you know, boxes and stuff on a page going down. It's like it's actually, you know, like one of those like sort of red stringed conspiracy board things. Like that's the menu, and it not only does it make the story a lot more digestible, but it also just makes it, you know, more engaging to actually get through. You know, like I want to cross all these names off that list. I want to, you know, kind of like get to the end and see what that's all about.
Are you gonna get the platinum? Because it seems like it's it's easy platinum.
Yeah,
From what my understanding.
I'm definitely intending to. I'm definitely intending to. It's just a matter of actually finding the time to, yeah, actually
Same with me.
get into it. I was hoping to, like, actually over the past couple days, like, you know, put in some hours towards it, but I just have not had the time.
Same. I keep playing other games instead. I mean, I bought the game full
Yeah.
price, and I probably should have waited. I mean, no, not probably should have waited, but
Mm.
I like it. It's not like it's a very solid 7 out of 10 kind of game.
Yeah,
for me,
I
but-
think at the moment I'd put it at like maybe a 7.5 or an 8, depending on how I'm feeling. But like,
Yeah.
and like, I mean, the story is, you know, I feel like the biggest praise for it is that like it's probably the first Assassin's Creed game since, or maybe Unity, that I've actually been able to follow the plot of.
Yeah, it's very
Like
standard.
actually
Yeah.
consistently.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like it's standard. It's enjoyable enough.
It gets the
That's-
job done. That's all it needs to be.
Yeah, which like it feels proof of concept almost, that like, yeah, Ubisoft can still do it.
Yeah.
I just hope that they continue doing it and that they take the right lessons from this instead of the wrong
Yeah.
lessons.
Gameplay.
I know you were like yawning, but when you were like, "Do it,"
Yes.
it, like sounded like you're like an Italian suddenly.
All right.
Do it.
So, you have anything more to add before we move on? All right.
Nothing from me.
So that would be James, but James number 5 was Liza P. So now we're on my number 5, which is Spider-Man 2, Marvel
Fuck
Spider-Man.
me.
2.
Oh,
So
Bro.
where is that on everybody's list? James.
Dory.
James, where's that on your list?
Oh yeah.
Game of the year.
Whoa.
Wow.
Damn. I mean, I'm not gonna argue, but jeez.
All right, Mitch.
Okay, I had it as my number 2, but
Oh, I know where your number
yeah,
1 is.
I'll say it later. Then yeah.
Dory.
My number 2 as well.
All right, so
Oh.
We were all incredibly hot on this
I'm
game.
figuring-
With Seb being the least hot on this
I'm
game.
picking,
Which is
I'm
weird.
figuring out your list now. I can see where this is going. But
You're like fucking Pepe Sylvia.
yeah.
Just like,
Well, you know what? Spider-Man 2 was. Actually, you know what? Why my dogs are barking? I'll let you guys take. I'll let Dory start first. Actually.
No, I
Yeah,
want
alright.
James to start. It's his fucking game of the year.
That's
I
true,
mean, I don't
true.
want to take
James,
that. From
yeah.
him. I don't want to take.
Go ahead.
I don't want to take that hype from him.
Yeah.
Um, Okay, so we'll start with the Spider-Man 2018, right?
Yes.
Let me take you back. Um, that was a solid game.
Mm.
Solid open world game, but it had kind of the usual open world issues where like a lot of the side content was quite bland. The
Mm.
story was very good, but
Yep.
yeah, like it kind of suffered from being like a solid game that didn't
Yeah.
do much to kind of blow anyone away. Well, maybe I don't know, but it didn't
Well,
like
like a solid proof of concept, or
yeah,
an
yeah, yeah. Like
extremely
there
solid proof of
wasn't
concept.
there wasn't a lot of boundary pushing going on. Let's just say that.
Mm. Yep.
Spider-Man 2, on the other hand, takes everything that works so well about Spider-Man 1 and everything that worked well about Spider-Man Miles Morales,
Mm.
combines them, and then
Mm-hmm.
evolves the things that didn't work and pushes things further, right? Like
Yes.
the story in Spider-Man 2 is
Oh
so
yeah.
much more interesting and
Mm.
so much more kind of fleshed out, and there's so many more elements. The characters are much more interesting. Like
Mm.
everything
I
about the
feel like
gameplay.
biggest praise I want to give to it as well is the fact that it pretty much like from a certain point forwards, like maybe oh, I mean, you can make the argument for the entire campaign actually that like basically every single mission has some kind of set piece element or like new ability introduced or like it's a really interesting actual story beat. Like whereas like compare it to the first game and it's like there'd just be there'd be constant peaks and valleys in terms of interest in the story. Like you'll have like that big set piece that they showed off at E3 for the first game, where it's like the crane and like chasing after the helicopter, and then like you just be followed that by a bunch of like, oh okay, let me go investigate a bunch of like random areas on the map, beat up a bunch of thugs and press triangle a few times, and it's like it. And then not to mention the like MJ and Miles missions in the first game, and like it sounds like I hate it because like I still adore the first game, but like it just goes to show that how much better Spider-Man 2 is, that the whole camp, like I can't really find any glaring faults with how the campaign is structured in this game.
Yeah. And one thing as well that I want to point out is before the game came out, a lot of the kind of conversation was about how are they going to tackle this idea of like, okay, now they have to deal with two Spider-Men. Like we've
Yeah.
played as Peter, we've played as Miles. Like we need to put them both in the same
Mm,
game. How does that work? And
yeah.
in terms of a story, from a story standpoint, I think like that those are the parts that I was most impressed with was the
Mm,
dynamic between those two
Yeah.
characters
yeah.
and how they play off each other and like their different personalities and all of that kind of thing. And
If
honestly, I
yeah,
came away thinking that Miles was my favorite character in this game.
interesting. Yeah, okay.
Um, because I'm a big fan of his story arc in this game and the way his character develops. And yeah, just that whole thing I think is brilliant.
Nice. I one thing that I hope they kind of implement for future like games is for them to like give us more flexibility between like like have us choose like for certain missions, not all but certain ones, choose like like for replay value, like okay, do I want to play this mission solely as Miles, do I want to play it as Peter, like like and give us some like options in terms of like which missions we tackle first, like okay, like this playthrough I'll go and do Miles's mission first and then I'll do Peter's, or like the next one I'll do it the other way around, like I like it's not even like it's not even something I can say that is at fault in this game, because like it still works out really well. It's just that I think if they really want to like take it to the next level, just make room for that flexibility and replay value of okay, like if I choose to play this mission as Miles, then I can choose to play it as Peter the next time around.
So yeah, so I've been quiet about this because my unbridled enthusiasm for this game is very unbridled. Spider-Man's my favorite superhero. I grew up watching him on my TV and all that shit, and it was just one of my favorite TV shows of the '90s Spider-Man stuff. I even loved the wacky 2000s Spider-Man Unlimited, of course, Spider-Verse. I mean, No Way Home. Just Spider-Man's one of my favorite heroes because he's so I think he's just one of the most relatable superheroes. He's one of the most interesting to watch. He's the most relatable just because he's just on a down on his luck guy who just gets shit on for all his whole life and just has to like roll with it anyway and be the best person he can be. And I think that's awesome. Anyway, this game fucking rules. The traversal system is literally God, and the fact that Seb fast traveled even once makes me sick. No, it doesn't. But I am going to continue that rant. But no, the traversal system is godly at this point. It was great in the first game. It was even better with Miles Morales. The web wings just make it. I mean, I almost never touch the ground. I don't even know if there are citizens in New York. I'm not sure. Don't need to find out, though. Yeah, look, there were so many set pieces, so many story beats, so many moments. The best thing I can say about this is, as a Spider-Man fan, for me, every second I was playing this game felt like I was living a dream. Like, for me, personally, and it's not even my number one, it's my number two. And this game is just, it's everything I wanted it to be. The symbiote storyline is so well done. The emotional storytelling between MJ and Peter is so good. The twists towards the end, I won't really say any of the twists, but the twists towards the end in terms of gameplay and stuff like that dropped me to my floor, dropped my jaw to my floor.
Big moment.
Big moment. And I just want to give a big shout out to Twitter because fuck you guys. I've seen a lot of like negativity about this game and people like starting to hate on it and like it's not like it sucks now or some shit. No, it doesn't fucking suck. Y'all suck. Y'all suck. This game fucking rules. I'm not gonna hear anything about they fumbled Miles or the anti-venom suit was pointless or whatever fucking discourse we have going on nowadays. I just liked a lot of Spider-Man 2 tweets, so now every now and then I'll get like discourse about Spider-Man 2 in my fucking timeline. It's awful.
It comes back to an old adage I love saying. It's like, don't fuck with the Spider-Man fans. We hate the character more than anyone else.
You mess with one of us, you mess with all of us. Right?
Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to point out as well, because Dory neglected to mention it, is Kraven the Hunter in this game.
Yes.
Is
super great.
I never knew anything about the character before this game, but that guy's really really well done.
Yeah.
Well, you're gonna love the Kraven the Hunter movie that's coming out next year, James. I'm sure of that.
Absolutely not going to be good. I'm sure it'll be as good as fucking Madam Web and Morbius.
I like this interpretation of the character, especially because, as we learned, his voice is somewhat based on the bad guy from John Wick.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
I did not know that.
Also, for folks who don't know, I was going to say, also played by Boozer from Days Gone, who's probably the one semi-good actor in that game. Sorry, Sam Witwer.
For folks who don't know, the story of Spider-Man 2 is basically the symbiote storyline plus Kraven's Last Hunt, with obviously some changes here and there. Kraven's Last Hunt is one of my favorite Spider-Man comics of all time. I super encourage anybody who's into Spider-Man to read Kraven's Last Hunt. It's one of the best storylines done by J.M. Straczynski, or I can't remember his name, excuse me. Yeah. But it's so good. This game adapts it brilliantly. I could talk about the gameplay and stuff like that and the graphics. J.M. DeMatteis, there we go, that was his name. I think we know how this gameplay works. I think the symbiote tweaks are really good. The way that they introduce Miles' stuff is really good. I have very tiny criticisms, like, I don't know, the skill tree can be a little confusing, and some of the costume choices are a little confusing in terms of aesthetics. And Dennis, I'm looking at you. I just want more. So, I love this game a lot, and any other fucking year that didn't include my number one game, this would be my number one. I could go on about this game for hours, but we don't have hours, so I'm gonna stop talking before.
Well, so this was my pick, and
hey, let's
yes, right,
yeah. So I agree with all you guys are saying for sure. Like I think there's better games this year, as I'll mention later. But I love this game. I absolutely love this game. I think it's a huge improvement on the first game, and I love the first game. I beat the first game like 5 times, And
Yeah.
first of all, I think the side missions are all really good. I really don't like the side missions in the first game.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
all of them are memorable. I think even the collectibles lead to like a really cool Easter egg, like a lot of cool Easter eggs. Several of them, they're really awesome.
Yes.
Yes.
I love the story. I love you guys hit on everything with the Craven being awesome. I love the whole symbiote. I loved Harry's relationship with Peter. I loved the flashback
Yes.
sections.
Yes.
I loved this little some of the side missions were like the pigeon guy and the guy
Yeah,
I can't
the
believe
guy
they
with the
came that
dementia
off.
on the bench and
Yeah.
there's a lot of emotional. I get a lot of people didn't like these sections, but I actually liked like Miles helping this kid
Aw.
do the homecoming
Yes.
thing.
Oh my God! When they
Yes.
they
I
literally
like
the
that.
school literally gives you like a Portuguese like suit or whatever a Portuguese
Yep.
flag suit, and I like literally almost started crying because it's so like number one, it's a beautiful suit. Like I think not objectively but subjectively, that's one of my favorite suits for Miles. It just looks so good on him. He looks so good, and I think it's just a sweet gesture. It's so cool that the school has their own mascot and it's Miles, and they gave him the Puerto Rican flag on the
They got
suit
the
and
flag
stuff.
right. They got
Yeah.
the flag
They
right.
got the flag right there, and then
Instead
they
of his
mixed
own
it up.
home.
Yes, they mixed it up in his own home with Cuba. Look, they look very similar. Okay, I don't know. I don't even fucking half the time. I don't even know where Cuba is. Okay, Americans are ignorant. Leave us alone.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, I know.
No, it's
But anyway.
it's like 100 miles less under me. Like it's literally under me. So anyway,
Yeah.
but it's game is amazing, absolutely amazing.
Yes.
I mean, spectacular even, and
Yeah, ultimate. perhaps.
ultimate, yeah. It's an amazing game.
Spirit?
I did have some performance issues here and there, not like anything
Oh, wow.
crazy. Like it had like some random moments where NPCs were like running wild, and the NPCs were a little just kept the character models looked off. And yeah, the soundtrack was good, but I feel like they use like the same theme a lot. Like I don't remember anything jumping out at me music wise. But that's not a big deal to me, of course. But the best part of the game, obviously, is the traversal. I mean, the traversal was phenomenal. Even though I use fast travel here and there, I didn't like use it all the time. It was
Shame. It's a
who
shame.
cares?
I care.
Traversal is amazing in the game. The gliding was phenomenal, absolutely
Yes.
phenomenal. Like that was the best part of the
Soundtrack
game.
was great,
All
too,
you can
soundtrack.
you can spend hours in that game just swinging around.
Yes.
and that's it. Yeah. All right. Let's move on now. We talked about that game in depth, like in our episode when we talked about it, like
Yep.
for like
Yeah.
almost 2 hours. So.
And I could do it for another 3 hours. Let's do
Agreed.
it right
Let's
here.
go right now.
Agreed.
Let's go right now. That's fine.
Let's do it.
All right.
James can stay up. He's good for it. It's his game of the year. If he can't stay up for his game of the year, I mean, come on, James. Jeez.
All right. So that was my number 5. So we're now on 4. Mitch's 4 was dead. Excuse me, Dory's number 4. No, Dory hasn't done number 4 yet. So go ahead.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna try this whole Google bit again and see if this works. All right. We're gonna. Did you guys hear that?
Barely.
Did that come through?
This is
Wait.
not-
Let me.
Dordogne.
There we go. Did that work?
Or Dordogne.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh God.
Yes.
Dordogne. I just want y'all to know it's pronouncing it correctly. All right. This is a pick that nobody has. Nobody get the fuck out of here. Y'all are
I have the
scrubs.
platinum, but I didn't. It's not my list. Sorry.
Yeah. All right, look, there's only one game this year that fucking made me cry, and it wasn't goddamn Spider-Man 2, and it wasn't, Final Fantasy, and get that shit out of here. It's motherfucking Dordogne. Now, what the hell is Dordogne? That's a great question. It's an indie game, and I'm glad I asked. It's an indie game. It's very point and click. It's a lot about nostalgia. It's a lot about you're playing as this girl named Mimi, and you're playing as her adult version as she's going back to her summer home in Dordogne, France. I know, big shock. And she's basically trying to piece together like why she doesn't really remember this part of her life as a little kid. She's trying to piece that back together through a lot of memories and stuff like that. This whole mystery unfolds. It's a very short game. I think it's only like 5 hours or less. I don't remember. It's not very long.
Yeah.
Look,
That's right.
I want to say, by the way, for the record, that from number 4, which is Dordogne, all the way to number 1, for me, these are all 5 out of 5 games. So almost half my list for me are like masterful games. So these are just varying degrees of masterfulness. Now, am I saying Dordogne is like a can't miss, action-packed event? Like, no, it's a point and click like adventure game with that's really
Very
sweet and
calm,
wholesome,
very
and like
calm.
made me feel
Yeah.
like very like looked chill vibes for sure. Like looked made me nostalgic for a childhood that I did not have because I was poor as fuck. Like I did not have a summer home in Dordogne, but
You
I
didn't go into
fucking
caves. You didn't go into
yeah,
caves
the
and
cave. I didn't go into any
have tree
caves and fight
houses.
mystical dragons. Like
Yeah.
what the fuck? Look, this game made me sob at the end. I cried. I love these characters so much. That we end up finding out about. Sorry, excuse me. One second. We end up finding out about Mimi and like her best friend at the time, and the stuff about her grandmother. And I mean, it's written so well. And for me, like writing and emotions are such a big part of what makes a video game great. And when this game made me cry, not just once but twice, I had to put it in my top 5. Now, I'm not saying it's necessarily a better game in some ways than other games on this list. I wouldn't replay it necessarily, but I loved it. It just made me feel so emotional. I think there was voice. I played this a while ago. I think there was voice acting.
I'm pretty sure there
and
was.
it was pretty good. But the writing was just excellent. The ending was heartbreaking, but not like in a bad way. Like it's not a tragic, sad ending, but it's like the revelation of why she doesn't have these memories and what that meant, and all these secrets and intertwining stuff. Stuff about prejudice too is really good in this game too. I just love this game a lot. And it's on sale on Steam right now for less than $10, which I think is a fucking steal.
And it's on Game Pass.
Yes, and it's on Game Pass, which is where I played it. Or I may have played it on Steam. I don't remember, but one of the two.
I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was Game Pass because I remember talking to you about it.
Yes, it was Game Pass.
Yeah.
So, I know some places gave it like a 7 out of 10 or something. Don't fucking listen to those liars. 10 out of 10 game. Fight me, cowards. But anyway, Seb, if you wanted to say anything about Dordogne,
I absolutely love it. It was one of my favorite indie games of the year. I didn't cry, but it was definitely touching at the end. The only big thing I didn't like about it was like the surrealism at the end was kind of like out of left field, but
out of nowhere. I agree.
But that wasn't like that didn't just derail the game for me or anything.
I saw it as symbolism and imagery, but
it's figurative. The whole thing was figurative.
Yeah, it's figurative. But it was a little weird that they suddenly went, and maybe this is real. And it's like,
like a dodge a logs mini game or something like that, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that was a little annoying too.
Yeah, but biggest criticism I have was not even like it wouldn't even affect you, but was that like the collectibles were like missable. Like if you missed one, you had to play the whole game over again.
I was looking at recent Steam reviews, and my condolences, Seb, but they did add a select a chapter option recently.
Oh, thank God. Yeah. But I didn't miss one, so I didn't have that problem. So.
Oh, so I mean, not a,
but it is a problem.
Can't relate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was definitely stressed when I was playing it because I
was like, making it sound like it fucking burdened you for life, and you're like, yeah, but it didn't. It wasn't me. It couldn't be me.
It's a lovely game, but it's not something I want to replay 3 hours for a trophy. It's not that good. But yeah, I absolutely. You're right. It is a really touching, wholesome game. I like this. I love this pick. Like I said, we're not all picking.
Pulled on my heartstrings and then broke them, and then I had to put them back together, and then I had to sue the company that made the game. But I digress.
It makes my list look like mainstream trash because I'm picking all mainstream AAA games.
I can't believe. Look, last thing I'll say about Dordogne is I played this game on a fucking whim, and I did not expect it to be anywhere near my top 10, and it was.
Am I the one that recommended it to you? I remember.
Yeah, I think you said. Yeah. I think you said you would really like it, and then like 3 hours later, I'm like crying on my keyboard with like tears, anime style, like dripping. Like, yeah, I guess you were right. It's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I beat it on PS5, and I absolutely loved it. It was an awesome game. All right, so that was Dory's number 4. So now we're on. Well, Mitch's number 4 was Dead Space. So
it was.
And now James is number 4. What is your number 4?
Starfield.
Don't say what I think you're gonna say. Oh, okay.
Oh, fucking hell.
What
is that on any of your lists or
no?
I thought you were gonna say what my number 1 was.
It's on my honorable mentions. It's in my honorable mentions. My top 5.
It's not even in my honorable mentions.
Wow.
I mean, I quite like it. Don't get me wrong, but there's better games in my opinion.
I again did not finish this because my Xbox bricked. However, played a decent amount of this one. And like, there's not much to say about it. it's that classic Bethesda formula. Again, it's Skyrim, it's Fallout, it's all your favorites, but in space, the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism. Everyone's saying it has. So yeah, it's the reason I like it so much is because I mean it's got those like addictive kind of quest lines and stuff that you expect, but it did something that not a lot of games this year that I played did for me, which is it got me really invested in the characters and in the stories. Like I was really invested in certain quest lines because I was really invested in the characters involved in them, and I wanted to further my relationships with them and see like where those stories went, and that is like such an important thing,
Yeah.
I think, and that's why the game really resonated with me uh, a lot more than some others, so that I ended up putting it at number 4. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
there's not much else to
I
say, but it's a solid game in many other regards. But that's the
start
main thing.
Oh, sorry. Starfield was such an impactful game to me that I have a classification for a special number, a special kind of 8 out of 10 game, the Starfield 8. The game that I don't really want to give an 8, but like I feel like it just barely gets there. Look, I really like Starfield. I like a lot of it. There's a lot of characters. I was able to romance one of my crew members in the like absolute nick of time, like right before the final mission. So that was lovely. The writing gets really good towards the end. I found the main story okay to bad for most of it.
I think it was extremely mid.
Yeah, extremely mid. And I found the way that you get your powers extremely tedious and forgettable.
That
and
mini game where you have to float into it was really
yeah,
stupid. It was like 7
I
times.
thought it was fine the first or second time even. I thought it was pretty. But after that, I was like, I'm over this. Like, I don't need to do this
It's the
every
same
single time.
thing like 6 times, I
Yeah.
feel like, or whatever it was.
But some of the side quests, some of the fucking best in video gaming. I mean, you literally get to play out Breaking Bad, but with fish. I mean, like I don't know any other fucking
That's
video
where-
game you can do Breaking Bad, but with fish.
That's where this game really shines. The side missions, all the
This
faction
is like
stuff.
the polar
was the
opposite of Final Fantasy 16 in some ways, where like
Yeah.
the side quests are like the main point of it. Now, I will say later in the game, towards the end, there are some really good narrative choices that I thought were very impactful, very well done. Voice acting's really well done. The characters are respected. Your choices are respected, but it takes way too fucking long to get there. I had also a cool side mission. Shout out to this mission where you can just fucking dress up as as a fucking tardigrade and just scare tourists for no fucking reason. And it fucking rules.
But
So yeah. Anyway, sorry. So I'm getting carried away. But the Starfield 8, I mean, I thought this was a great game, but had a lot of problems. I like the combat. I like the crewmates. They're not like strong for me.
yeah, it wasn't Mass
but,
Effect good. Yeah,
Yeah, it wasn't Mass Effect good, but it was good. It was good.
yeah.
The graphics are fine. People still kind of look weird. Facial stuff. Oh, sorry, you can't see me. But the facial stuff still looks weird.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Seb, what do you have to say?
It looked, the graphics, like the environments were really pretty because I was playing on, like I said, ultra settings on my PC, and
I think I hadn't gotten my RAM upgraded, so I had to play on low settings. It looked like a fucking Xbox 360
I thought
game.
didn't you get like 16? Like didn't you upgrade to 16 like right before the game came out? Was that
maybe?
after?
I don't know.
I think.
I don't know.
Yeah, but anyway,
Maybe you're right.
the environment, like being on a planet, like with a giant like moon or planet in the background, like in the sky, was incredible. Like that was jaw dropping. Like I said, the side mission stuff was incredible. The gameplay is very standard Bethesda.
Yeah, fine.
The structure of the missions were all very Bethesda. I had a lot of great moments. It was my most played game on Xbox. I had put 64 hours into it.
Yep.
No,
Same for me. It was my most played on my PC at like 60 or 70 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
So when I say it's not my honorable mention, I'm not saying that's like to bash the game. I'm just saying there was so many great games this year that like this is a very strong 8 for me. But
Start-
I
yeah.
had a lot. I had like 20 8.5s and higher kind of games that like it
Yeah.
kind of it just missed it. Because some people think
I-
this is game of the year, and it didn't hit me like that.
No, it's not even in that competition. That competition for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a very weak 8, like on the verge of like teetotaling backwards into a 7 or something. But against maybe my better judgment, this is still an 8 out of 10. I still think it's a great game overall, and I'm looking forward to the next. But this was a game I remember. Now that I'm saying it, I remember originally I wasn't even going to play, wasn't even going to give it a shot because not the biggest fan of Bethesda. Prefer Obsidian or Larian or many other RPG makers than Obsidian than fucking Bethesda. It just works. It just works. But anyway, but I gave this a shot. It's on Game Pass, which I thought was such a smart move. I would never have paid $60. I mean, I couldn't have if it wasn't on Game Pass, because I guess if it was on like a PC store or something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I would never have paid $60 for this, even though I put 60 to 70 hours. So when I say like what I'm saying about the game, like I put time into it, and like I definitely know what I'm talking about with the game. I'm not saying I experienced everything. I didn't, of course. There's side missions here and there that I didn't know about, and weapons.
It's like a 300-hour game if you really wanted to do everything.
Yeah. And I didn't do any of the farming, and I didn't do any of that.
I think I did a lot that I'm satisfied. I feel like I'm very satisfied.
Same for me.
Yeah. All right, let's move on now. So that was James's number 4. So we're on my number 4. My number 4 is Resident Evil 4 Remake, which I imagine is going to be Mitch's game of the year. Or no?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I was about to say. And this is Dory's number 3. I'm imagining.
Yes, you're imagining correctly. Good
And
imagination.
this is James's number 3 as well.
Correct. That's my list.
All right. So
Damn.
it's gonna be a lot of me. It's gonna be a lot of Dory and I talking for the rest of the
Fuck
episode.
yeah, it is. And I know who's getting to their number 1 first, Seb. Eat shit. I don't know why I said eat shit. For no reason. We have the same fucking game. I know it.
All right, so Resident Evil 4 Remake. I had this higher than Alan Wake 2, and then Alan Wake 2 later on beat it for me. But I
Overtook it. Yes.
overtook it. Yeah, and Resident Evil 4 is my favorite game of all time, as I said a million times. And so obviously I was super hyped for the remake, and they did the game justice. They absolutely did justice. They improved on a lot of aspects of it. They hit on it was just enough, like where they hit pretty much every. They took out all the annoying parts that in the original game and did their own twist on it and made it more streamlined and funner. And I think the gameplay is incredible. It flows so well. The pairing is so satisfying in this game. The kicking and everything. It makes the original Resident Evil 4 remake, Resident Evil 4 feel like an ancient game. Never mind an old game. They made Ashley such a much more interesting character than the original.
They actually made her into a character,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and she wasn't voiced by friggin' Sandy from SpongeBob, so that's also an improvement.
That's true. Yep.
Not
only that, but they made Lewis. Even though I like Lewis in the original, they made Lewis a more interesting character in my opinion as well. I think the only character they didn't do as well with was Ada, and that's because her voice acting was not great. It was lackluster. It just didn't feel like she put any effort into it.
Yeah.
I know probably because there was like a contract issue or something like that. I know there's like a whole story to that, but it didn't ruin it for me. You know what I'm saying? It took me out a little bit because the Ada in the original one was really like memorable.
So good.
Yeah, the bitch in the red dress and Krauser's voice. You guys liked it more than I did. It kind of threw me off a little bit, but not something I'll complain about.
No,
I will also say Salazar's voice, or not Salazar. I always confuse him and Sadler. Sadler's voice was the voice. Well, him and Ada were both competing, where it was like, I don't know what it was. It felt like he was trying to do some kind of fucking Southern Baptist evangelical shit. Or like, I don't know what it was, but like his voice actor, I just didn't really like his take on the character. It wasn't badly done. I don't know. I just didn't like it for Sadler. But, anyway, continue, Seb.
What else is there? Oh, the sound effects in this game are amazing. The atmosphere was incredible. It had that Resident Evil 2 atmosphere that I love with
Yes.
great gameplay. Now, Resident Evil 2
Yes.
remake has good gameplay in my opinion as well, but
Mm.
it
It
it got the best of both worlds. It was a survival horror game and an action game at the same time. It was perfect in that
So
regard.
good.
Great, perfect
Yeah.
mix. Yeah.
I loved. Oh, sorry, Seb. Do you have more to say?
No, I think that's it.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, I love this game. This was my number one for quite a while. And then a
Mm.
couple other games came out. Hint hints. One of which I've already said. So big hint hint. But look, this game is terrific. I played this game somewhere between 70 to 80 hours. And the reason isn't because I was platinum. Isn't because I was platinuming it. It's because I was fucking speedrunning it. This game is so fun to speedrun. I was a part of the speedrunning community for a little bit. I never did an official run, so I'm not like on the leaderboard or anything. But I did get 2:15 at 1.2 hours 15.
Oh,
At one point on beginner, because I would never try to speedrun this on professional. I did once actually, and actually that video on my YouTube channel got pretty good views. Got like 700 views because I was doing the water level, or not water level, but the water room, the whatever the fuck it is, with all the ganados and the sniping area. And I beat it in like 7 minutes or something. Anyway, sorry, this is not about me. The game is really fucking good. The gameplay is excellent. The voice acting, for the most part, is really good. The story is still wacky and campy. I get why some people feel like they removed a little bit of the camp here and there, but I feel like they have just the right amount of camp still.
Yeah. I said it back when Village came out in 2021, but it's like I feel like they were just using Village as like, you know, kind of like a testing kind of basin, or like you know, basically a ramp that they can to see how they could go with, like, you know, Resident Evil 4 remake and how they'd go, you know, how people would respond to the tone there, because it's basically the same between those games.
There's a lot of DNA shared between these two. I mean, I had a moment.
100%.
I had a moment in the game where I was coming up on a house that like was an RE4 remake that was kind of isolated, and it felt just like when I was in Village and I was going into that dollhouse, and it felt kind of similar.
I do want to say as well, as someone who does have the platinum, I think I ended up playing this like 8.5, like 9.5 times in total.
That's why I didn't get the platinum, because I didn't want to play this game 9 times. Like I love this game,
granted, the main reason it took that many tries was because I just didn't optimize my runs properly, and I forgot to make a crucial save that would have saved me like an additional 2 or 3 playthroughs in the long run. But like because for a while it was number 1, and then obviously Spider-Man 2, Alan Wake 2 came out. The main reason I still have it at number 1 though is because of Separate Ways and the Mercenaries. If it wasn't for those 2 add-ons, it probably wouldn't be my number 1. Separate Ways, like it's not better than the main campaign, but it's like it's the perfect kind of companion piece to the main game.
Just like the original.
I feel.
Yep.
Exactly. Like it adds in literally everything people were asking for or missing from the main game. Ada's like got enough of a. She's different enough.
The grappling hook is
that, you know,
game changing.
Oh, 100%. Like it's unique. And then Mercenaries on top of that, I've put probably at least like 5-10 hours into alone.
Yeah.
Like it's just incredible. And that's, you know, that was before we had like Wesker added, who is just the absolute GOAT in that game mode. Yeah, look, you guys hit pretty much on everything. I'm now more confident in an RE5 remake now that this has come out, especially because I feel like this is probably the only other game that the like knife parry mechanic would make sense in. Because like I don't see them making a Code Veronica remake and adding in the knife parry. That just doesn't seem.
Yeah, not against zombies.
Like yeah, exactly. It doesn't really match the tone of that game. But who knows? It's like it. I was excited for a potential RE4 remake, but I had no idea that it would be this good. Like it blew my expectations.
I was honestly very apathetic at first because I was like, another fucking remake.
But
then when we saw that first trailer, I was like, okay, all right, fuck me up. Like this looks incredible, and then it was incredible.
It was so good that I was debating whether it was better than Resident Evil 2 Remake or not, because Resident Evil 2 Remake was my game of the year in 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
was like,
Yeah.
is it better?
I mean, I got bad news for you. It is, but I mean, I digress.
Yeah.
I actually
Yeah.
think it's better. I mean, I lean on it being better because I feel like the gameplay shines so much, but
Yeah.
that's another topic.
Well, I mean, y'all will be happy to know it's better than RE3 for me. So
Oh,
James
yeah.
will be pleased to know.
For sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Not even the same atmosphere. Not even the same like planet. Is that? All right.
James, did you want to say anything about the game? Because I know James.
That's okay. You guys hit on everything.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we did hit on everything.
Yeah.
So that was my no. Who was? Oh, it was my number 4, and then Dory's number 4
God.
was Dordogne, and then Mitch's number. Actually, are we on 3? We're 4. No, we're on 4.
Yeah, we'll be on 3 now.
Yeah, we're on 3 now. So Dory's number 4 was Dordogne. Number 4, Mitch's was Dead Space, and
Yes.
James's number 4 was Starfield. So number 3 is my
RE4 Make
for me it was Alan Wake 2.
Right.
Yep.
And then,
So same for me.
and that was same for Mitch, and then James is okay. So we're on Dory's number 3. Actually,
It wasn't Dory's.
No,
also
mine was
RE4?
RE Make.
oh, that's
RE4
right. I didn't write.
Yeah.
That's why I got confused because I didn't write it down. I forgot to write yours down. So that was that. So we're on my number 2 basically. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. So my number 2, big surprise.
Oh no! Big drum roll, everybody!
Yeah.
Looking at me!
Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh my god!
Oh,
What is
right. I
it?
forgot that game came out.
He
I
did the
forgot that game.
thing.
I mean, little amiibo right next to me.
Yeah.
All right, Tears of the Kingdom. I'll go fast. Tears of the Kingdom is an absolutely incredible game. If Baldur's Gate 3 did not exist, spoiler, Tears of the
Wow.
Kingdom would be my game of the year. I mean, it was a masterpiece. The next 2 games in my list are masterpieces, best games of the year, not even close. I feel like they're a step way as all the games we mentioned. I think they're just a different tier. And Tears of the Kingdom is really good because the adventure aspect, it added new mechanics to Breath of the Wild. You can like teleport through a ceiling. You can create so many different like you can build tanks and Godzilla. You can like the physics. In that game has the best physics I've ever seen in a game. Like in terms of just like the puzzles and everything, like relying on things to roll a certain way, and that game was like really test your knowledge of like physics. I love the story, absolutely amazing story, one of the best Zelda stories in my opinion. I love the whole relationship between Link and Zelda. It had a very emotional ending. The soundtrack was absolutely gorgeous. The game shines, even though the graphics are a little dated. Obviously, it's on Switch. It shines like it has a unique style that obviously a lot of games have copied after Breath of the Wild, and this game improved upon a game that was already a masterpiece in my opinion. I mean, people universally, Breath of the Wild is seen as like arguably, if not the greatest game of all time. People say that. I see that on a list a lot. It's at least like, objectively, a lot of people claim it's like one of the greatest games ever. This game actually improves upon it all. I think the only reason why this game doesn't get as much credit, like in terms of like awards, was that probably just because the other game that I'm going to talk about got more because it was so. But this game was like it's kind of like God of War Ragnarok, where I feel like like both games are absolutely amazing, and this game does everything better, but people kind of have like I prefer the new IP focus, yeah. This game is a masterpiece. What can I say? It was my game of the year for most of the year until August. So it was not. It was even close. So I was like, yeah, this game is a lock. It's gonna be my top 30 games of all time. And like the last year and the next game I'm gonna talk about. So it was that good. It's one of the greatest Zelda games. But with all that said, I'm very happy that they said they're gonna go back to a more linear Zelda next, because the story is concluded. It wraps it all up. It's the finale. So now we can go back to If I could like go through the computer screen right now. So it's a masterpiece. What can I say? So yeah. Obviously,
Technically, is my number one and your number one, right?
yep, that leaves the number one.
All right,
I
I'm gonna back up for this one. All right, here we go. Baldur's Gate 3, motherfucker!
Baldur's Gate 3. So what a surprise! The Game of the Year winner.
Wow, what a fucking shock!
What a
Who
twist!
saw it
No,
coming?
no one saw it
What a
coming.
twist. Nobody
So
saw it coming.
Baldur's Gate. Let me just go really quick. Baldur's Gate 3. But best game of the year by far. I don't think anything's on this level. Not just like this year, but like RPGs. I've never played a game with this much RPG like role playing in my life, where like almost every single detail leads to a different conclusion. It's almost insane. Like everybody has totally different playthroughs, like completely different playthroughs. Like when Dory and I did our spoiler cast for this podcast,
Yes.
our playthroughs were so much different. So I went back and bought it again on PS5, and had a totally different playthrough than my first one, and it was just as good as the first time. This is by far the best game of the year. Like it is. The soundtrack's amazing, the writing's amazing, the voice acting's incredible. And I'm not talking just like the main characters. I'm talking like almost every NPC in this game has great voice acting, or at least
it's
serviceable. Yeah, it's like it's insane. The side missions are like everywhere. Every single, even like smallest things have like fully voiced characters, fully like quest line. It's like you can go on this adventure for like 300 hours. It's insane. Like the role playing in this game.
Let me
go ahead.
I'm gonna say a very brief story about one of the late game side quests. So I was looking around in Baldur's Gate itself, which you don't see till very late in the game actually. And I was just looking around. I was trying to complete this this other side quest or whatever, and I stumbled upon this store that I hadn't gone into before. Discovered that the storekeeper, oh sorry, I'm like echoing. Figured out that the storekeeper was secretly worshiping what equates to like one of the many devils of the nine hells. Ended up going to hell, saving somebody. And had one of the best boss fights ever in a video game, like period, with one of the best songs ever in a video game. Period.
You mean Raphael the fight?
Yes, Raphael fight.
He even,
and this was on a whim.
He sings.
I didn't even know this was gonna happen.
He sings his own boss fight.
He sings his own fucking boss theme.
Yeah.
Like that's so
His
fucking
boss
cool.
theme, yeah.
I like. It's
So-
incredible.
Yes.
And how was the Donatello fight?
It was cool. I feel like it was a little better with machines. I feel like that fight was a little better with machines.
Yeah.
Look, I had a lot going for me in enjoying this game. I love D&D. I'm a dungeon master. I love RPGs. I love CRP. Well, I haven't played that many CRPGs, but the few like Disco Elysium that I have played, I loved. So I had stuff going for me, but I also had a lot of stuff going against me. I had no interest in playing this game. I had no intention to play this game. I had never heard of this game before. I never played a Larian game. I've only played a few CRPGs. I may like D&D, but I've never played a CRPG that tries to incorporate it.
Was it
so
me?
there was a lot of stuff like.
Yeah.
What's that?
Was it me that recommended this game to you? Like, was this?
Yes.
Like,
Yes. It was once again Seb recommending me.
I just
a
know
game.
I guess I know your taste.
Yeah. We have very similar tastes.
Wait till we get. Wait until I convince you to play Elden Ring. Let's go. Anyway. Go ahead.
But look, I love this game a lot. It's an understatement. It's one of my favorite games of all time. It's one of the best games of all time. The combat is incredible. The voice acting is incredible. The graphics look so good, especially for an independent studio like Larian. I mean, they are an independent studio, but they're fairly big and they're fairly well known at this point for their Divinity Original Sin, which I didn't know about.
Also,
like I knew about this game. Yeah, which I also knew, but I have them on various things. I just haven't played them yet.
Yeah.
The writing is just, it's on another level. It's not just the writing, it's how many different paths this can take you down. Like, there's a tweet that I tweeted out, retweeted a few days ago about like how just the Goblin Camp. That's it. Like, there are so many ways you can approach this. You can fucking poison their goblets. You can turn the goblins against the people in the prisons. You can fight the goblins head on. You can sneak around them. You can convince them that you're on their side. You can be a drow and more easily convince them you're on their side.
I did. I feel like I did all these my first playthrough.
There's so many different ways to approach everything. I just feel like you're so rewarded. I just played the epilogue recently, which got me in my feels. The epilogue's really good. It's short, but it's really good. I don't know. I could go on about this game forever, but we've already done that. Check out our spoiler cast because
Yeah.
Seb and I talked for like 2 hours or something.
It was about 2 hours, and then if you
Yeah.
include like the impressions we did too, that's probably like
Yes.
another 40, 50 minutes. We talked about this game for like 3 hours, so
We could talk about it for another 3 hours because there's so much.
we could
fucking
probably
shit
do
on
another
it.
spoiler cast because my
Yes.
my second playthrough was so much different than the
Yes.
first one. So
And I'm one of those really, I mean, not lame people, but I'm one of those people who really, I play through an RPG once and I play it how I would play it, how I want to play it, like the ideal playthrough, and then I'm good.
Mhm.
I mean, I put over 100 hours.
Yeah.
Steam says 140 plus. I'm not sure if that's actually true, but definitely over 100 hours into this game in one playthrough.
Yeah.
Did almost everything I could. I mean,
mine,
there is a reason this game is getting so many awards. You know, it's incredible.
it's one of the greatest games ever made.
Yeah.
People can make a case that it's the greatest game ever made. I mean, someone's opinion. It has
Right.
it's in my top 20 games of all time now.
Yeah, I would say so for
And,
me as well.
and last year, I would say Elden Ring is in my top 20 now. So the fact that I've gotten not just Game of the Year games. I'm talking like game of like my life game back to back is insane. Baldur's
Yeah.
Gate 3 is a must play. I mean, I can't recommend RPGs to everybody. It's a very specific kind of
Yeah.
game, but I really recommend you try it in some way if you can.
Yeah.
Demo, or I don't know if it's a demo or if there's a trial you can do or something. But
Yeah.
try this game. It's so
You can always get a refund. You can always get a refund from Steam after a day
Yeah.
or two. Like, give it a few hours. The UI can be a little tricky at first, but 5e is one of the most approachable versions of D&D. I think Larian did a really great job making this approachable. Like Seb said, CRPGs aren't for everybody. D&D is not for everybody. But the fact that this has been such a massive success speaks to how accessible and widely being able, like, it's on Xbox, it's on Mac, it's on PlayStation, it's on Steam, it's on everything at this point.
It's the only
So-
game you can say it's the best game on every platform that it's on.
Yeah. So
It's PS5 best
anyway,
game and
this
PCs.
Seb and I could talk about this game forever. Go buy it, have a dating simulator while you're at it.
I mean, this is
It's basically a dating simulator with dice.
You can have
So
sex
there
with
you
the entire
the whole party.
cast, the whole
Everybody's there.
Everybody's there. Go wild. All right.
Wow.
So that is our
Go there.
last episode of 2023. So we'll be back in January for like basically our whole new season of podcasts. It's going to be our 4th anniversary. We've been doing this almost 4
Jesus.
years. So we're at 3.5 years.
I'm surrounded by old geezers.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Present included.
thank you for your list. Like I said, it's my favorite video that we do. I've been making this list since January. It's changed like a trillion times.
Yeah.
And so we'll talk. So next time when we come back in January, we'll talk about our honorable mentions and make all our predictions
Yes.
about 2024. Which hopefully is going to be a good year, but I need a backlog year.
Yes, and this looks like a backlog year. I mean, I say that, but Final Fantasy Rebirth and Yakuza 0,
And not-
or not Yakuza 0, like Yakuza Like a Dragon Infinite
Yeah.
Wealth is coming out.
Not
so.
and not to drag out the episode. I just want to say 2023 was one of the greatest years of ever in gaming. But like I said,
Yes.
last episode we had a lot of layoffs, and I want to shout out to all the devs that lost their jobs.
Yes.
We wouldn't have had this year with all these amazing games that we talked about tonight without them. So shout outs to them, and I hope everyone has a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and peace. See you.
Here's a
later.
little math problem for everybody watching at home. How many COD like campaigns could you fit in this one episode? Think about it. Get back to us. Let us know.
Bye.